as they take on slotbank Gerald Wilcox and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But he won't have Matt Donegan passing to him. Donegan's gone south to the Birmingham Barracudas. The Memphis Mad Dogs. They now join the league with quarterback Damon Allen. And the new-look Argos pick up quarterback Kent Austin. All that and a trip to the Alamo this year on the CFL Live. Cal Murphy is once again on the field for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He'll be running the club from the sidelines. Sammy Garza, his son-in-law, will be pulling the trigger, and he should be in good hands with Gerald Alfin. What's the Bombers without the monster, Chris Walby? In Ottawa, Garney Henley, CFL Hall of Famer, is now running the show as the team's general manager. One of his first acquisitions was to hire Jim Gilstrap as the head coach. Danny Barrett will have to throw BBs this season, and one of his favorite targets, Ray Alexander, who came over from the BC Lions.
CFL Live. Tonight's game from Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers versus the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Good evening and welcome to the first of our 45 games we'll have on TSN. I'm Darren Detition. I will be your host of CFL Control for the entire 95 season. Now, as you know, the past few years the league has not stood still, and the buzzword continues to be expansion with plenty of change. Stagnant, the CFL is not. There is a new look with 2 new teams and new cities. We are very excited here at TSN. We, like the league, also have a new look, and we hope you'll call it home during the course of the next 4 months. A key matchup that we're keeping our eye on tonight will be quarterback. When Matt Donegan went south, that pushed Sammy Garza, the son-in-law of GM Cal Murphy, into the starting spotlight. Tonight, we will see if he shines. Well, at the other end of the spectrum, Danny Barrett is the Ottawa Rough Riders going into his 12th season. Barrett has all of the pressure upon his experienced shoulders. It's going to be a great night for football. Frank Clair Stadium is sold out, 30,000 plus. Let's go to John Wells and Leif Pedersen.
All right, Darren, we're excited to kick off a 1995 CFL football season. The Ottawa Rough Riders might be a little bit anxious. Only 13 members of last year's team are on the roster to begin this new season. And when you look at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers after the success they had last season, they made a lot of changes, too, including 7 on defense.
Yeah, they really have, John. You know, they made some changes in the secondary. They probably didn't want to, but they made some changes in the linebacking core that I think they're going to be very happy with. Remember those Winnipeg defenses from the 1980s when they terrorized other teams with Tyrone Jones and James West and Greg Battle? Well, they really feel like they're back at that level again in 1995. They've got a newcomer, K.D. Williams. He only runs the 40 and 4.3, and couple him with Greg Clark and Reggie Gibbons and Charlie Clements. I think this is a linebacking core that they're going to be very pleased with this year. Going to terrorize other teams, and maybe Danny Barrett tonight.
The road to Regina and Grey Cup 95 begins here tonight, and any way you look at it, it appears to be an awful lot shorter for the Bombers than for the Rough Riders.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. There are always different subplots to each story, and here is our game story. Danny Barrett's the man on the hot seat for the Riders. We'll see how having Michael Richardson and Ray Alexander will help his offense. Sammy Garza's in good hands with Wilcox and Elfin. The Bombers, once again, solid at linebacker, and they have a huge edge in experience on the offensive line. Garrell and Walby, they are monsters. So the table is set for tonight's clash. Let's go to Leif and John. And gentlemen, let the games begin.
We are ready at Frank Clair Stadium, Darren, and happy to be here one more time for the kickoff at the old Lansdowne Park with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Ottawa Rough Riders set to go head-to-head. This seems to happen just about every year. Cal Murphy, head coach of the Blue Bombers since 1983, Leif.
Well, Cal's had an unbelievable record, as everybody that's followed Canadian football knows, and this year should be no exception. He's combined a pretty good coaching staff. You look at John Payne is back with him, and Jim Gilstrap takes over in his first year as a head coach in the CFL. He's been a head coach at the college level, but I'm sure a lot of people wonder Is this an envious task or an unenvious task as he assembles a lot of new faces here in Ottawa?
Jim Gilstrap, a 9-year assistant in the Canadian Football League. He began his career north of the border in Saskatchewan. And we're underway. The 1995 CFL season as Carpenter, a newcomer for the Blue Bombers, takes it at his 10. He's out across the 20 to the 25, and that's all. Met there by Mark Dubé. Sammy Garza gets his chance to be a first-string quarterback after 6 seasons in the Canadian Football League, and he'll be well protected by a veteran offensive line with Miles Garrell and Chris Walby, 2 300-pounders at tackles, 2 new wide receivers in Collins and Carpenter, and the 2 great slot backs inside, Gerald Alphen and Gerald Wilcox. 1st and 10, Blue Bombers beginning at the 27-yard line. Rob Carpenter to the near side. That means Sean Collins is to the far side of the field as Garza looks for Carpenter, and the first pass almost picked off by Emmanuel Martin, number 17. He had a chance for the grab. Up front for the Ottawa Rough Riders, they're solid with Lloyd Lewis and John Kropke. 3 rookie linebackers, and this could be a problem. Plus 2 new cornerbackers, including Emmanuel Martin and, of course, Eric Jeter on the other side.
Yeah, Eric Jeter, they got in the dispersal draft. He played with the Las Vegas Posse last year, so he does have some experience, but they are pretty young.
2nd and 10 for Garza. Over the middle, and Alphen will have the first down, stopped by the Ottawa safety, Remy Trudel, number 24.
And this is going to be a problem area for the Ottawa defense. John, you mentioned they're starting 3 rookie linebackers, and, you know, I suspect Gerald Wilcox and Gerald Alphen are just going to do exactly this. Run those hooks in between them and see if those guys can cover in the zone. And that time, Dwayne Knight, the newcomer, number 44, wasn't even close.
Gain of 18 yards, 1st and 10, Winnipeg. Out to the 44. This is Woodside, number 33. Met by Lloyd Lewis, number 76.
Well, John, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have been always deep at running back, and this year really is no exception. Keith Woodside gets the call tonight. Mike Oliphant is not on the lineup. They got him from, of course, the Sacramento Gold Miners, looking to him to maybe carry the load this year. But Woodside played a couple of games last year. Seems to be a guy that is always around and always fills in admirably.
2nd and 5, Garza looks to the far side. He's on target. Woodside makes the catch, and he's out across the 50-yard line. So Garza has moved the Bombers effectively out across midfield. The tackle made by Edward Mitchell after a 13-yard gain.
And Sammy Garza likes to use the backs. Just a pretty good scheme. He cuts underneath. Gerald Wilcox is clearing out, and that is a big assignment for Ed Mitchell, the rookie linebacker, to try and stay with Keith Woodside. And, you know, Cal Murphy, they've got a good scheme. I asked him, did you change anything losing Dunnigan? He said nothing.
Garza on target. That's 3 in a row. Collins made the catch. He stopped short of the 40-yard line.
John, you talked about in the lineups tonight 2 new wide receivers. Rob Carpenter is one, and Sean Collins is the other, who catches his first pass in the CFL. And they are some pretty imposing figures out there. There's Collins, number 80, 6'3", 210 pounds, 6 years in the NFL, 4 very productive years with the New York Jets.
First-round pick of Atlanta, 1989. This is Woodside. There's nowhere to go this time. On 2nd down, Woodside is stopped in his tracks. Kropke had to be in the middle of that, number 73. Derek McCready, his partner on the left side.
Well, I think one thing you can count on from the Ottawa defense this year is to get some good push from their 2 tackles, John Kropke and, of course, the veteran Lloyd Lewis. That time they get it. They just manhandled David Black on the left side, the offensive guard of the Bombers. And after some pretty successful plays, the Ottawa defense tightens up, and Troy Westwood has to come in the game.
Fairly decent march. Here's Westwood, good on 42 of 58, hitting on 72% of his field goals last year. Cameron is holding, and Westwood just makes it for a 3-0 Winnipeg lead. 1-for-1, great way to start the season for one of the fine young kickers in the game, Troy Westwood. And the veteran Bob Cameron in his 16th season with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Holding, he is also the Bomber punter, as everyone knows, and punted for another 3 miles in 1994. Over 51 miles punted for Bob Cameron in his 16 CFL season.
You know, John, in watching him in the warm-up, the leg seems as strong as ever. I said, this isn't your kind of night. It's calm. He's always performed so well in the wind. He said, never mind the wind. I know I kick well on that. I don't mind a calm night either.
The Rough Riders take over. Barrett at the 35 on first down. Has some time. Look to Alexander, an old partner in British Columbia, and they couldn't connect that time. Barrett and Alexander. Barrett in his second season as the #1 quarterback in Ottawa, with 8 new faces in the huddle this time. The offensive line has just 2 returnees, Irv Damon and James Monroe. Veteran Ray Alexander and Odessa Turner are the new outside receivers. Both have NFL experience, and Michael Richardson will run the ball for the Rough Riders. 2nd and 10 Ottawa, still at the 35. Barrett got it away in a hurry. Christensen was in the open and couldn't quite bring it down. Number 83, formerly with the BC Lions, last year with the Eskimos.
And a ball that Jay Christensen should have caught. You know, there's so many newcomers, 3 of them in that Winnipeg secondary, and they make a mistake. They turn Christensen loose, and you know, he really should have been able to hang on to that ball. He's 6'4" and stretched out. And you know, Ottawa, you know, we suspect they may struggle early in the year, and you really have to come up with the big plays, and that was unfortunate he couldn't hang on. But boy, Winnipeg, hey, you look at Jerron Bolden, Jason Mallet, Darius Watson, 3 absolute raw rookies in that secondary.
Terry Baker lifts a high one on 3rd down. This is Boyko back at the Bomber 25. Surrounded well by Ottawa special teams, and not much of a return. Blue Bombers have the lead on the only field goal try of the ball game. It's 3-0 in Ottawa.
Being a pilot, it's not just handling the stick controls, it's what goes on up here. I'd say I tend to be a detail sort of person. And in this business, if you don't pay attention to detail, you're dead. In this past year, we've done training for people from both the US and Canada. Our Advantage 800 number gives us the opportunity to reach these people who are spread over North America. It gives us an instant credibility, and it puts us in with the major US competitors, the big boys, if you want.
The CFL live on TSN.
Welcome back to Frank Clair
Brought to
Stadium
you by
in Ottawa.
Pepsi. Pepsi reminds you to be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. And by Bell Advantage Long Distance Services, from the Alliance of Canada's only full-service telecommunications companies.
Back in Ottawa, awaiting a Winnipeg first down. Bombers out in front on a Troy Westwood field goal. It's 3-0. Giant of a guy, number 63, has been a mainstay of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for a long time now. In his 15th season, he's an 11-time All-Star, and number 63 is Chris Walby.
Well, he is a force, and you combine him with old Miles on the other side, and that, you know, the last series, that's what's so important for Ottawa, is to get that push up the middle from the 2 tackles, Lewis and Crosby, because there's not too many guys that are going to get around Walby and Miles Gurrell.
First down for Sammy Garza and the Bombers. He goes over the middle. Carpenter, the intended receiver. And Emmanuel Martin moves over. Cal Murphy thought maybe a flag should have flown on the play.
Well, I thought Emmanuel Martin timed that perfectly, and you know, Carpenter maybe has to work back to the football a little more as he brings it across the middle, and Martin closes the gap. I think maybe Cal Murphy's got a bit of a complaint there. That left arm might have got in there a little before the ball arrived.
2nd and 10, Blue Bombers at the 31. Garza has time again, steps up and fires over the middle for Gerald Wilcox. Brett Young in on the tackle. Wilcox second in receptions in the CFL in 1994 with 111.
Most valuable Canadian a year ago was Gerald Wilcox. You combine him with his buddy on the other side, Gerald Alphen, and between the two of them. Not only are they great receivers, you know, for a quarter, they're the quarterback's dream, because Alfin, you know, is 6'3". Wilcox is 6'2". Easy to find.
On first down, Wilcox, the intended receiver again, and Garza missed his target.
Now, I asked Mike Kelly, the offensive coordinator of the Bombers, what might be the difference with Sammy Garza as opposed to Matt Dunnigan last year. I knew Dunnigan loves to throw those throwbacks and deep passes. He said Sammy Garza really likes the hot patterns, meaning taking advantage of teams that like to blitz and hit those receivers quickly. Tonight's the perfect test against Ottawa. They blitz about 70% of the time. Here they come.
Carpenter to the near side on 2nd and 10 over the middle. Alfin, the intended receiver. Coverage from Gary Lewis, number 21.
That was solid coverage by Gary Lewis, 21. And the Ottawa secondary is going to have a lot of pressure on them if they blitz that much. Remy Trudel, the middle safety, was coming on the safety blitz, and that left Gary Lewis all alone. And he does a good job. A good swim move to the inside by Alfin. But watch how he closes the gap so quickly. And Gary Lewis, who played 14 games with the Riders a year ago, back for his second season, makes a nice defensive play. Two good defensive stands early for Ottawa.
Lewis is back to receive a third down punt from Bob Cameron. He's standing at his 27 across the 30 to get a high kick away. And it's coming down to Ed Small right at the 30. Solid coverage by the Bombers special teams, and leading the way that time, Doug Hocking, number 38.
You know, John, one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at the teams out here tonight, and all the teams that are beginning the first week in the CFL, you know, with only 2 preseason games and you're working so many new people in the lineup, I mean, it's really difficult. Even Winnipeg, that's a veteran team, you know, Sammy Garza has to find out what Rob Carpenter and Sean Collins can do, and it's his first chance really controlling the offense by himself. So this is a real feeling out period for everybody.
And so too for Danny Barrett, who's got 2 new receivers. Odessa Turner, number 80, and an old friend, Ray Alexander, number 88. Michael Richardson. Nice hole for Richardson, and that'll be an Ottawa first down. Here's the Bomber defense that Barrett is working against. Stan Mikowas anchors the Winnipeg defensive line. Outside of Mikowas, not too much experience up front, and not very much experience in the linebacking core, but boy, do they have speed. Watch for K.D. Williams. Ken Burris and Darrell Sampson are the only veterans in the Blue Bombers secondary back in '95.
Yeah, and Sampson switched sides so they wouldn't have 3 rookies to one side of the field.
First down Ottawa, out across the 40-yard line at the 41. Barrett keeps himself. He's to the 45. Actually, that was second and about a half a yard to go. So Barrett, who turned out to be Ottawa's leading rusher last year, has the first down.
Yeah, he gets a good block double team from Irv Damon and 59 James Monroe. And Danny Barrett, you're right, he led the team in rushing, and everybody thought Michael Richardson would, but you know, he was hurt and only played in 10 games last season.
Alexander, number 88, to the near side. It's 1st and 10 Ottawa at the 45. Pitch to Richardson. Good blocking for Richardson, and close to another first down. Jason Millette, the Bomber safety, number 20, came over to make the tackle. And it looks like a first down, Ottawa.
Well, there's a lot of heat on the offensive line for head coach Jim Gilstrap, and one of the youngcomers, Kai Bjorn, watch the seal block that he makes to get Richardson around the corner. And boy, this is a way to get a young offensive line going in a hurry, is to let them be aggressive and come off the football, not have to pass block on every play.
Bjorn is just growing. He's 6'7", 275.
Just growing.
First down, and it's Richardson again. Another nice hole opened up. Caught from behind by Reggie Gibbons, number 4. Solid running for Michael Richardson, who had a couple of rushing titles running out of the Blue Bomber backfield.
Well, he's won 2 rushing titles, as you say, John, but he's never been able to play a full season. This time, good burst through the line of scrimmage, great upper body strength at 5'11" and 200 pounds. But if he could ever stay healthy for an entire season, there's no telling what he could do.
Last year, it was a quad problem. Richardson again on first down. This time he can't get away from Darius Watson, number 26.
Well, John, you realize in the 3 full seasons he's played, 12 games is the most that Michael Richardson has ever been able to play in. 10 games last year and 11 the year before when he won a rushing title. So, you know, it's imperative that he stay healthy too, because this team will not beat anybody with passing alone. They need to have the solid running game behind it.
And he's missing a good pal of his in Darren Joseph, number 20 of the Ottawa Rough Riders, until Monday. He was traded to Saskatchewan. Barrett, and that one was tipped at the line. He was looking for Ray Alexander.
To complete your thought on the trade with Joseph, he was traded to Saskatchewan for offensive lineman Chris Burns, and really that's a good deal for the Riders. They need offensive linemen, because there's going to be injuries throughout the season, and they're going to play an all Canadian offensive line. Well, they got one import tonight, but Chris Burns will help. It's a good deal.
It's one of those deals that should help both teams. Darren Joseph, a solid running back. He's got some speed. He's a good blocker, but he brings a couple of skills to the table.
And that man, our old buddy Jed Tomey, came out of a 4-year retirement to fill in at backup fullback for the Riders. We'll talk more about him later.
From the 45, Terry Baker's first field goal try of the season is well wide. Boyko in the end zone gives up the single points. So the Bombers hang on to the lead, but it's sliced to 3-1. Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa as we kick off the 1995 CFL season.
The Metal Protector, a razor so sharp it has to be kept behind bars. Protective guard wires ensure that while the shave is close, there is no safer wet shave. Metal Protector from Wilkinson Sword.
Buildings, blocks of time passing by. Biographies of unforgettable characteristics and stones bouncing off a backbone buried deep in your own backyard. Why? Because I am.
This NBA Draft Update is brought to you by Molson Canadian.
Monumental evening here in Toronto. The first time in the history of the National Basketball Association, their amateur draft is being held outside of the U.S. It is at Skydome, and with the first pick, the Golden State Warriors selected Joe Smith. He's a sophomore from Maryland, 6'10" center. He was named as a U.S. Collegiate Player of the Year last year. We'll continue to update the NBA. Let's go back to the football field.
And here we are in Ottawa, 3-1, Winnipeg leading the Rough Riders.
Boy, it's interesting in that NBA draft. 4 sophomores could be the first 4 picks tonight. So we will keep you updated all night on how that draft is proceeding. But we've got a good one going here in the first quarter. Both teams kind of feeling each other out at this point.
Number 16 there is Jay Messias, listed as the 3rd string quarterback for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Blue Bomber first down, beginning at the 38-yard line. Sammy Garza has moved the Bombers fairly effectively so far, but he only has a field goal on the scoreboard. This is Keith Woodside, and Woodside has a first down out across the 50. Gary Lewis slowed him down right there.
Left guard Brett McNeil gets nice position on John Kropke. Kropke picks aside and makes the wrong decision, and that opens up a huge hole for Keith Woodside. And Sammy Garza, he's going to mix it up nicely. He wants to throw, obviously, most of the time, but he's got to keep Ottawa honest with the running game, too.
Bombers now from the 51. Garza throws in a hurry, has Carpenter, and he is met as he makes the catch after a 5-yard gain by Emmanuel Martin, who's been a factor for Ottawa already tonight. John, out of Alabama State.
Yeah, it's early, and there's a long way to go in this game and, of course, the season. But I've been impressed in the first quarter with what I've seen from Emmanuel Martin. He has really come up and challenged Carpenter. Had a good knockdown on one play, and now on the quick hitch, he was there right when the ball arrived. A very aggressive corner.
I said a rookie. Actually, he was up for a couple of games in '94, but really doesn't have a great deal of CFL experience. This is Johnstone. And the big guy had nowhere to go. Number 25 is met by Mark Dubé. Number 34, Dubé back in the Ottawa lineup after retiring from the Canadian Football League a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he was into the motocross last year.
He was 3rd in the Eastern Ontario Championships or something.
The only bad thing about that, 3rd sounds pretty good. It's just 3rd, you don't make a whole lot of money.
No.
So he said he had a renewed interest in football in a hurry when the payables started.
So he's parked the bike at least for a while. Small awaiting Bob Cameron's punt. Cameron standing back near his 47. This guy can kick. Small for the Ottawa Rough Riders, beginning at the 12, and he's slowed there. Has about a 4-yard return. E.D. Williams made the tackle for Winnipeg. 41-yard punt. The return is 4. The Bombers lead by 2.
Go for a healthy decision. Press crunch. You can't beat that. McCain Super Fries is where it's at.
Great tasting, crispy McCain Super Fries are prepared with 100% non-hydrogenated canola oil, so they contain just half a gram of saturated fat per serving.
More than that, they taste just great. So get the facts, they're on the pack.
McCain Super Fries, low in saturated fats for a healthy decision.
Now you can't beat that.
Car and Driver has chosen their 10 best automobiles for 1995. Quite a select group. They all have the kind of safety features you would expect, like dual airbags, anti-lock braking systems, and reinforced body structure. They all have outstanding performance credentials, as you would expect. And they all have the kind of sticker price you would expect of a vehicle in such an elite group. All except one, the 1995 Ford Contour. It's nice to be in such good company, but not all the time.
Wet and wild in Ottawa tonight in some areas.
Well,
It's really hot and humid.
No, this is good stuff here. But you see the old Mr. Sub over there. He's tried to sneak around and come in through here on the back door on this one. But the guys started shooting a little water on him. They said, hey, if you try and get in here, there'll be no room left for us. But
It was decent block, I thought, by Mr. Moose.
yeah, Mr. Moose, he really wasn't in it because old Sub snuck around behind on him and tried to get in there. But hey, these guys in there, you know, they've had a couple of pops in there, and they've got enough smarts left to know that Mr. Sub gets in there, there's going to be no room for them.
Decent start for the Ottawa Rough Riders in this one. The Bombers have made a lot of changes too, so they are making their adjustments, particularly on defense. 1st and 10 Ottawa. Beginning at the Riders 16. Barrett pitches to Richardson. And Richardson, not quite as much running room that time behind an inexperienced offensive line. Damon and Monroe, as mentioned earlier, are the only real veterans, and a lot of inexperience elsewhere.
Well, you know, you look at the years total there for 15 years total of that offensive line, and you know, that's just a position you don't learn overnight, and experience is such a factor when you look at teams. But this group has had a good first quarter. They blocked well in the run and opened up some nice holes for Michael Richardson.
Gain is a couple, 2nd and 8, a little shovel pass, and Bushy held on. He was met by Bill McCollins, number 99, and stopped well short of a first down.
That's kind of a tough play to run against Winnipeg, because those 3 down linemen, McCollins, Mikowicz, and Tony Hill, they're kind of pluggers. They try and create opportunities for the linebackers to make plays. And if you look to the left side of your screen, you'll see 99 McCollins. He's just kind of floating along the line of scrimmage, and any of those shovel passes or screens or draws, that's what those 3 down linemen are looking for.
So Terry Baker gets set to punt again. He's standing at about the 7. First punt, 50-yarder. This is Rob Carpenter. Let it bounce. And lost about 20 yards. Now he's surrounded, and a penalty flag is down. Little hesitation. Cost the Bombers some big-time yards. 54-yard punt.
You know, John, it was interesting. Head coach Jim Gilstrap of the Ottawa Rough Riders said it was really important for his team to try and win the kicking game. And, you know, psychologically, it could be such a lift if you win the special teams battle, and they're doing well so far.
Yards. Ottawa number 22. First down.
So the call goes against the Rough Riders. But a big hop got away from Carpenter, and the Bombers are back near the 35. So they gained some field position and then lost it in a hurry. Into the final 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the opening quarter. Winnipeg on top, 3-1. 1st and 10 for Sammy Garza at the 35. Time to throw. Man wide open. It's Alphen. hand down, and he propelled himself for an extra couple of yards, plenty for the first down. That's what the Ottawa Rough Riders knew they really had to do in this game, is get to Alphen and Wilcox and shut them down.
And in order to do that, they've got to have good protection up front. Look at old Miles Gurrell, you know, he's still banging around after 18 years in this league, but it's all positioning. See how he forces Dwayne Knight to go wide? Knight has no, well, a little hold there too. Miles, you know, his philosophy's always been if you hold every play, they're not going to call it every time, and he got away with one there.
Playing in his 285th CFL game tonight. Keith Woodside, and not much running room for Woodside as Kropke, who's looked solid tonight, comes up with another tackle. Sammy Garza has had a decent beginning to this evening. He was a solid quarterback in camp and through the first 2 games of the season, the preseason actually. Hitting on 60% tonight.
Yeah, don't forget, he only played like 8 games last year. He's coming back from knee surgery, so he's trying to knock a little rust off, too.
2nd and 8. Garza goes deep. Wilcox, the intended receiver, stretched out, and the coverage was too good for Brett Young. The pass might have been just a little bit too far from Sammy Garza, too.
But it was good positioning by Brett Young. He's the 6-year veteran of this defensive secondary, and Garza put the ball in a good spot. He's hoping that his receiver can make the adjustment, Wilcox, but look at Young. He's right there. Had the ball been on target, that right hand was going to be right in there to knock it out. Boy, there are some young defensive backs in this game tonight, but Brett Young is certainly not one of them. 6 years, and Daryl Sampson on the other side with 10. They're the 2 defensive backs with the most experience.
Tough to beat this guy's experience. Bob Cameron in his 16th CFL season. Ed Small waits for the punt at the 20-yard line. Surrounded quickly. And Katie Williams is the first Blue Bomber to the ball carrier. Penalty markers are down near the 30-yard line. 38-yard punt. The return is 4 yards. Ed Small, a rookie from Mississippi, returning the punt 4 yards. Roughing against the Blue Bombers. That's the initial indication from referee Don Ellis.
Cal Murphy brought a lot of new coaches with him this year. John Payne has come over. He was with BC last year. He was going to be the head coach in Jackson until that team didn't materialize. Then all of a sudden he's scrambling for a job, and
there's your old coach right there.
There he is, and Cal Murphy brought him to coach the defensive line of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Holding 1.
Number 7.
Holding. Ottawa number 7. Unnecessary roughness. Ottawa number 32. Unnecessary roughness. Winnipeg number 20. First down.
So coincidental roughing penalties, 1 each way, and the holding call sets Ottawa back near the 11-yard line. Ottawa taking 2 of the 3 penalties handed out. Now Danny Barrett starts from deep in his own zone, barely outside the 10. Barrett with time. Williams was the intended receiver, couldn't bring it down. It was slightly behind him. Sampson, the Blue Bomber left halfback, was covering on number 18 that time.
John, I really thought Winnipeg would bring a lot more people early in the game than they have. They're only rushing 5 here, and Ottawa does a nice job protecting, but really a miscue. It looks like he was actually going to Ray Alexander on the end, and Nigel Williams, who's a young receiver, I think was supposed to clear out, and he just didn't get downfield.
2nd and 10, Ottawa. Near the 10. Barrett with time again, and this time far side. Ray Alexander, who got away from 1 and has plenty for the first down. Alexander out across the 30 to about the 31 for a 21-yard gain.
Well, without question, the biggest free agent signing in the offseason for the Ottawa Rough Riders. There weren't a lot of guys that wanted to come here, but Ray Alexander, after a Grey Cup victory last year, decided he wanted to come, and he works the newcomer, Jerron Bolden, hard upfield, takes a look to the inside and breaks out of the outside. Perfect pattern.
1st and 10, Ottawa, 31-yard line. This time Barrett to Odessa Turner, looked up, and I thought he was a little closer to the ball to maybe get his hands outstretched to take a better try at that unless he lost it when he looked up.
Well, there's some big receivers in this game for both teams, and Odessa Turner is no exception. 6'3", 215 pounds, a 7-year veteran of the National Football League. 4 of those years were with the New York Giants, and his total accumulation in 7 years was 97 catches down there. He beat out Stephon Jones, so they must have seen something in preseason they liked.
Shotgun for Barrett on 2nd and 10. To his right, Turner can't make the catch. He was alone and couldn't make the catch. That's the end of the opening quarter at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. The Rough Riders within a couple of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Right now, we'll send you back to CFL Control.
This CFL Live Update is brought to you by Mariner Outboards, better in the long run.
The NBA draft continues at Skydome. Now, as we told you earlier, Joe Smith was the first player selected overall from Maryland by the Golden State Warriors. Well, they continue the drafting process right now. Selected second was Antonio McDyess, the Alabama sophomore, 6'9" forward, great athletic skills. He can run, jump, likes to bang the boards. Came into his own in Alabama, went from being a virtual unknown to a can't-miss prospect in 2 seasons. Jerry Stackhouse, by the way, he goes third from North Carolina. Philadelphia selects him. Rasheed Wallace is the 4th pick overall from the Washington Bullets. We'll have more on the NBA at the half. Let's go back to Leaf and John.
Call now for further information or a free catalog.
Kevin Garnett has been selected 5th by Minnesota. We're going to take a short break. We're going to have more NBA at the half. Let's go back to the football field. Leaf and John.
And back live at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa, where the Bombers lead it 3-1. Sounds a little more like a hockey score so far. Troy Westwood on a field goal, and Terry Baker missed his first try. That's the scoring in the opening quarter in Ottawa tonight. Fairly close in a lot of ways. Ottawa Rough Riders have moved the ball fairly effectively with Michael Richardson along the ground. On 3rd down, Terry Baker standing back at his 15. Alan Boyko, the lone man back for the Bombers. Pretty good charge. Baker got it away, and this is a long kick. Boyko all the way back to the 27. Looks room to the outside, grabbed about 6 on the return. And a towering kick, 52 yards by Terry Baker. Stats in the opening quarter. Looks fairly close, Leaf, overall.
Yeah, it was very close overall. Really, both offenses not able to get on track. I guess that's a tribute to the defense, but I'm a little surprised. I thought Winnipeg would perform a little better than they did in the first quarter, although they did get 90 yards in total offense.
Time of possession within a minute. Nice to see the zeros on the board beside turnovers. Winnipeg first down, beginning at the 35. Garza has time, looks over the middle, picked out. Trudell has his first interception of the season. Just as I say, zeros on the board. There's the first turnover of 1995. Remy Trudell, 12-yard return after picking off the Garza pass.
Well, I really believe, John, that was one of those plays where Sammy Garza just didn't see the defensive back coming. Gerald Alphin initially looked so wide open as he goes downfield, but, you know, Garza's got to hit him quickly. Now, I mean, the ball should have been gone, and look at Remy Trudell right in the middle of your screen. Hey, all he's doing is reading the quarterback's eyes. He has nobody in particular in coverage. He's looking at Garza, and when Garza releases, he's breaking on the football. The Riders get a big break early in the second quarter.
He had lots of time to react. Remy Trudell, 9 games at safety with the Ottawa Rough Riders in '94, and sets Ottawa up at the Winnipeg 35, 1st and 10. Barrett flares it out for Michael Richardson. Lots of room for Richardson to the far side. makes the tackle, but it opened up beautifully in front of Michael Richardson.
And as he was a year ago, he has to be the focal point of the Ottawa offense. Yeah, Ray Alexander's going to chip in with some great production, but Michael Richardson had 42 catches a year ago. That ranked him second on the club, and you know, whether he's running the football or they're swinging him out of the backfield as they did on that play, he has to be the focal point, and I'm sure Danny Barrett's very aware of that.
Nice little 13-yard gain to set Ottawa up at the Bomber 21. Shotgun, and Richardson takes it along the ground this time. Tries the right side once more. Katie Williams, number 44, made the tackle, and Richardson grabbed maybe a yard.
Well, we talked about Katie Williams, the rookie linebacker, what kind of speed he has. Hey, here he comes from the backside. Tell me about this speed, 4.3, to be able to run down Michael Richardson from behind. This play looks like it's going places, then all of a sudden, Katie Williams shows up and it goes nowhere.
Second and 9. Ottawa at the Bomber 20. Barrett has time, got it away just in time. Alexander inside the 10, still standing, and finally dropped it about the 8. Duran Bolden made the tackle after a 12-yard gain.
Well, the Blue Bombers were coming with the heat. They brought the halfback blitz with Darius Watson. You'll see him come from the left side of your screen. Danny Barrett's willing to stand in, take the hit to deliver a strike to Ray Alexander. The pattern took a long time to develop, but give Danny Barrett credit. He was courageous. He could feel the hit coming, but he stood in there and took it to get a first down.
First and goal to go. The Rough Riders at the Bomber 9. Richardson again. He's about halfway there, down to the 5. Number 99, Bill McCollins, stood in his way.
So, John, that's a tough spot for the Ottawa offense to be in. First and goal from the 9-yard line. You know, this is a team that likes to run the football, but that's a tough place to try and bang it in from. 9 yards away in a goal-to-goal situation. It's not Ottawa's strong suit.
And they've spotted it back at the 6-yard line. Alexander comes to the near side. Odessa Turner flanks to the far side of the field, top of your screen. Second goal to go, 6. Barrett puts it up. Turner, the intended receiver. He's got it. That makes up for a couple of dropped passes a little bit earlier. The one in particular, touchdown, Odessa Turner.
And I asked head coach Jim Drillstrap what was the greatest attribute that Turner brought to the lineup, and he said it's how he uses his size. You see how he uses that 215 pounds to shield off Darius Watson? Watson, a much smaller defensive back, has no chance to get around Odessa Turner and make the play, and nice concentration to get the touchdown catch. And boy, as a young offense to get the turnover and then get the big score, that's got to do a lot for your confidence.
Baker's convert is good. Ottawa into the lead on Odessa Turner's 6-yard touchdown catch from Danny Barrett.
Now you get a good look at it here. Turner, they switch. Ellingson goes to the outside, and Turner comes inside, matched up on the inside halfback Watson. But see the body control? There's no way Watson can get around that big frame at 6'3", 215, and once again, Danny Barrett takes a hit to deliver the strike. It's not much of a hit, but he's got to be pleased with capitalizing on that turnover. You know, it's funny. Obviously, Barrett's thrilled there to have his first touchdown pass of the year, but all these teams go into the season with so many question marks. And hey, Odessa Turner was a large question mark. Sure, he's had some productive years in the NFL, but how's he going to adapt to a new system, new country, new team? And maybe they answered it with that touchdown catch.
67 games in the National Football League for number 80 there. He's a member of the 49ers in a Super Bowl year. Ready to return for Winnipeg. Burris out across the 45 and just short of the 50-yard line with a good return there. 5 plays to cover 35 yards after the turnover on the Trudell interception. 3 minutes, 12 seconds for Barrett to get to Turner in the end zone.
Yeah, they must be satisfied with that. That was a difficult spot to start your first and goal, the 9-yard line, but after a run by Michael Richardson, Danny Barrett hung in there, took the hit, and delivered a touchdown strike to Turner.
And Alexander set it up with a 12-yard reception to get them to the 9. Collins makes the catch for Winnipeg as Garza took a hit, just releasing the ball. That's number 80, Sean Collins.
Well, as Sammy Garza rolled out to his right, he could see that hit coming right up the middle. And as he delivers the football, Ed Mitchell, 48, puts the helmet right in there. But to Garza's credit, he's willing to stand in and deliver a strike to Sean Collins.
He was wide open.
Collins had a hamstring injury in training camp, and with only 2 preseason games, he's a bit of a question mark for the Bombers, how well he can play.
Bombers 1st and 10. Here's Garza. He's got time, going deep and well deep. Alexander was upfield a ways there. Carpenter was the intended receiver, should say.
Well, Sammy Garza getting nice protection from that offensive line. Watch the nicely formed pocket that they create for him. And, you know, this is the ideal situation. Those 2 tackles push to the outside. Woodside picks up the blitz of Mitchell, and good passing lanes and sight lines for Sammy Garza to see downfield. I think Carpenter just kind of gave up on his pattern.
2nd and 10 Bombers. Garza had some room to run, thought about it for a moment, then fired over the middle for Boyko, and that comes up as a big Blue Bomber first down. Boyko juggled it for a split second, but he held on for an 18-yard gain.
And what a valuable performer Alan Boyko has been for this club over the past few years. He returns punts, fills in at wide receiver, slot back, and then occasionally comes in and gives Alphen or Wilcox a breather, and all he does is find the open spot in the zone quite nicely. Garza directed him nicely where he wanted him to be, but he is truly a valuable guy to have come in certain situations.
3rd year with the Bombers, played 1 season in Saskatchewan. Garza, a little shuttle pass to Keith Woodside. He finds room around the left side. Lewis up to make the tackle for Ottawa. Like Woodside had a bigger hole than that. Gain less than 5.
I'm going to show you play the officials miss here. Watch Miles Gorell, and as they come his way and Woodside's going to be hit, watch the big hand that comes out. Now, he doesn't get called for holding. This is one that's missed, but I'll guarantee you Woodside saw what his buddy did for him. See, right there? No way McCready can get out and make the play. That's a loss. But Gorell gets away with the hold.
2nd down. Here's Garza. On 2nd and long, in big trouble. Kropke coming, and Garza is nailed. They ruled that he was ready to pass, so it's not a fumble. 94, Anthony Bell was in the middle of this.
Well, Ottawa's defense, 70% they blitzed in preseason, and certainly not afraid to come tonight in the opener. Number 44, Dwayne Knight coming, putting some pressure on Sammy Garza. Boy, you go back to Gorell. Give the guy credit. He's got to have strong hands to haul down Derek McCready like that.
Troy Westwood, 1 for 1 from 48 away. Bombers' first points of the season. He'll try and add 3 more here from the 33. Cameron is holding, and again, Westwood right on the money.
You know, John, Troy Westwood really struggled at the beginning of last year, but they tell me he's had a great training camp, good preseason. He's 2 for 2 tonight.
2 for 2 is Troy Westwood. The Ottawa Rough Riders, though, have a 2-point lead on Winnipeg.
Is your poor old elbow running out of elbow grease? Then get serious about stripping with Easy Stripper. Watch how its thousands and thousands of fingers per minute literally eat away old paint right before your eyes. Look out, there's a nail. No problem. Easy Stripper buzzes by without missing a beat. Easy Stripper's high-tensile steel fingers gently yet totally erase old paint with no mess.
Now available at these fine stores, refinishing projects have never been so fast and so easy.
You hang a picture, you change its position, and soon your wall looks like a dartboard. Introducing the Does It Handy Hanger. Just heat up a handy disc, press it on the wall, and that's it. On painted walls, on wood paneling, even on glass. Yet it can be removed without leaving a mark. And look, your Does It Handy Hanger also comes with these utility hooks. Use them in the kitchen, the bathroom, even in your tool shed. The Does It Handy Hanger. Available now at these fine stores. Nothing does it like Does It.
Ottawa wide receiver Odessa Turner has the only touchdown of the ball game, a 6-yard toss from Danny Barrett. That's the reason the Rough Riders are in front of Winnipeg 8-6. We'll head out to Vancouver and watch a Grey Cup rematch on Friday night at the stadium at BC Place. Don Matthews in Baltimore against the BC Lions. Have it for you on Friday night.
Yeah, BC Lions, a lot of changes to their team. Les Brown retired. James Jefferson, the other corner, left. Barry Wilbur, defensive back, is left. Angelo Snipes is left. Sean Millington is left. Ray Alexander's left.
Who's there?
Well, there's
Danny McManus is at quarterback.
Yes.
They'll be fine.
Yeah.
1st and 10. Ottawa beginning at the 35 after the Winnipeg field goal. Some early movement, and flags are down. Play is whistled down. Katie Williams is quick, but number 44 too quick there.
Now there's Katie Williams right there, 44. As the ball is snapped, he is in the neutral zone. He didn't make contact.
Offside. Winnipeg number 44. 1st and 5.
But if the ball is snapped and you're in that neutral zone, you're going to get called. Katie Williams, now, unfortunately, you can't see it. Well, you can right now. See those two front teeth? They're two gold teeth, and one has a K on it, the other has a D on it.
Got to have the initials there.
You should do
in case
that.
you get lost at night.
Have a little JW on the front of yours. He's a good one. 4.340. Not bad for a linebacker at 6'2", 221.
1st and 5, Ottawa after the offside call. And this is Michael Richards, been running hard all night. And he'll have another Rough Rider 1st down. All kinds of worries in Ottawa about the offensive line with so many newcomers. And they've done a pretty good job for Michael Richardson a time or two.
One of the attributes of Michael Richardson, watch Bill McCollin slash down. Now, he has a chance to make the play, but Richardson extremely strong in the upper body. I mean, he just fights right through that tackle. I mean, everybody says, hey, yeah, he's elusive, he can catch the ball, but hey, this guy is strong, too.
64 yards so far for Michael Richardson. Play whistle down. Would appear to be a time count violation, but Danny Barrett is arguing that, at least for the moment, with referee Don Ellis.
I think head coach Jim Gilstrap has to be pretty pleased the way his team has played in a quarter and a half.
Illegal procedure. Ottawa number 59. 1st down.
Little early movement from James Monroe, the right guard.
That's the biggest problem. As a young offensive lineman, you have so many things going through your head when you walk up to the line of scrimmage. Often it's so easy to forget the snap count.
Now it's 1st and 15 facing Ottawa. Barrett to throw, looking deep. Odessa Turner, the intended receiver. Darius Watson was covering, and there's a marker down near the 35-yard line.
Watson was in trouble. And he knew Turner had a chance to make that catch. Watson was beaten. He certainly knocked him out of bounds.
Watson, a late cut from the Chargers in 94.
Deliberate forward pass interference. Defense. 1st down.
He didn't give us the license number, but trust us, folks, number 26. Darius Watson was called there.
Yeah, they found a good matchup. Give credit to Ottawa. They're going back at it. They're moving Turner in on 26 Watson, and they've had a touchdown and now an interference penalty.
That's a 26-yard penalty setting Ottawa up at the Winnipeg 41. Barrett unloads on target. Michael Richardson. Reggie Gibbons, number 4, over to make the tackle on Richardson. Solid play. Richardson has been the offensive star for Ottawa, with little doubt.
And he should be. I mean, we talked earlier, he has to be the focal point. Danny Barrett sees 48, Charlie Clements coming, but that good quick release, and Richardson gets the inside position on Reggie Gibbons. Yeah, once again, another hit by Barrett. He's going to take a lot this year, but it was a good quick release to get Richardson the football.
Another Ottawa 1st down, this time at the 25. Barrett.
Well, looked like he called an audible there and maybe called his own number. Saw something open up in the middle, and oftentimes
it closed quickly, though.
Have Winnipeg's defense, you know, if Mikowicz doesn't stay at home on the nose, there is a pretty good gap in there.
Couple of yards for Danny Barrett. Not a bad start to his season. 5 of 11 for 58 yards.
Well, no interceptions. You know, they only threw 16 all of last year to go along with 22 touchdowns. And we've said this many times over the course of games we've done. He does not feed himself.
2nd and 8. Barrett, end zone toss. Alexander, and knocked away. Jerron Bolden got in front of Alexander, who was waiting.
You know, often receivers quickly turn into defensive backs. Ray Alexander knows he's in trouble as this pass is underthrown. He's got good position on Jerron Bolden, but he comes back, gets the hands in, and actually breaks that play up. So quickly from receiver to DB.
Here's Terry Baker, field goal try, 29. He's on the money. 3 more for the Ottawa Rough Riders. They've taken advantage of opportunity to lead the Blue Bombers by 5. It's 11-6 on the CFL Live.
That's the way, I like it. I like it a lot.
115 years of tradition. One distinctive recipe. 0 preservatives. Too smooth for words. 100% Canadian brewed. 5% alcohol. Equals 1 good beer. Is all we do, because this bud's for you.
Today's cars and trucks are more advanced than ever, but there is a price. Their harder working engines can wreak havoc on a motor oil, breaking it down almost immediately. That's why Castrol GTX provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown. So use Castrol, or your harder working engine could make things hard on you. Castrol GTX, engineered for greater protection against breakdown.
Look for Castrol's free NHL hat offer at these and other leading outlets.
Thursday, get inspired. To get into this game, you have to get into the entire Major League. Inspiration. Jays Orioles. TSN. Thursday.
Fine crowd in Ottawa tonight. The blackout has been lifted, and we thank the Ottawa Rough Riders for doing that for TSN this evening. Ottawa in the lead, 11-6. Overall, a pretty happy place to be right now, Lee.
It really is, and this is going to be part of an exorcism at halftime to get rid of all the bad Ottawa teams in the past.
All the 4-14 seasons,
yeah.
Like 2 in a row.
Think it'll work?
I don't know. First down. That's Chris Johnstone taking the reception from Sammy Garza. Ottawa Rough Riders have dominated in the second quarter with time of possession. And on the scoreboard as well, 6:26 Ottawa compared to the Bombers under 3 minutes. So this will be second down and 12. Garza eluded the first charge and couldn't connect with his receiver on the far side of the field. That's Rob Carpenter, number 85. Garza had a good start. He's been thrown off his game a little bit in the second quarter.
Once again, I think Sammy Garza is fortunate this ball was overthrown by Rob Carpenter, because look how quickly Emmanuel Martin recovers it. Had that ball been on target, I think he might have had a chance at the interception.
That brings on Bob Cameron once more, averaging 39.3 tonight. Ed Small is deep for Ottawa, standing back at the 32. Low snap. Cameron gets it away. Booming high kick. Small. Away from the first couple, but not for long. He's to the 35 for about a 3-yard return. We've got a timeout in Ottawa with the Rough Riders hanging on to a 5-point lead on CFL Live.
Camping can be great fun, but not when it's ruined by stiff neck muscles and nagging back pain. Wake up to OrthoMat, the incredible new orthopedic mattress and pillow combination from SuperTech. Look, ordinary pillows are impossible. They're bulky and awkward. OrthoMat is a convenient one-piece unit that rolls up tight and compact. But the true secret of OrthoMat is in its space-age design. Feather light and very durable, OrthoMat provides positive orthopedic support for your neck, shoulders, and back. It even has its own moisture barrier. You wake up refreshed and ready for a great day. OrthoMat is the ideal companion for hunting, canoe or fishing trips, camping, or hiking. Kids having a sleepover. OrthoMat is an inexpensive way to turn floor space into sleep space. When you're at the cottage, OrthoMat is perfect for those indoor campouts for your littlest adventurer. Say goodbye to rough nights, hello to magnificent mornings with the amazing OrthoMat, the world's first orthopedic mattress and pillow combination from SuperTech.
OrthoMat, available exclusively at Canadian Tire.
This NBA Draft Update is brought to you by Molson Canadian.
NBA history has been made tonight at Sky Dome. The Vancouver Grizzlies and, of course, the Toronto Raptors, expansion teams moving into this upcoming season, have selected for the first time. Bryant Big Country Reeves out of Oklahoma State goes to the Grizz. The Toronto Raptors, somewhat surprising, take Damon Stoudemire from Arizona. Let's go back to the truck for John and Lee.
And back here at Ottawa, 11-6, the Rough Riders leading the Blue Bombers. 4:37 remaining till halftime. Ottawa very solid in the second quarter in particular to take the lead. 1st and 10, Rough Riders beginning at the 35. Danny Barrett looks to the far side. Jay Christensen makes the catch. Darius Watson forced him out of bounds. And right into Lloyd Lewis. Pre-game tonight, the Bare Naked Ladies singing the national anthem here at Frank Clair Stadium. And post-game tonight, the Bare Naked Ladies in concert here in Ottawa. 2nd and 2. Rough Riders at the 43. And Bushy is stopped short of the first down, and the ball squirted loose. I think it did. It might be the first turnover for the Bombers. Danny Barrett says no, but I think that was the indication from the official right on the spot.
Paul Bushy hasn't had a lot of playing time the last few years at fullback, being mostly a special teams player. The first time he touches it tonight in a short yardage situation, we'll see who rips it out. McCall is 99 in there. 44 is K.D. Williams, and really tough to see who knocks it loose, but yes, it does come loose. Was he down?
Yeah.
Boy, that's close.
Yeah, it was a little close, all right.
Nevertheless,
turnovers even, one each. And the Bombers set up at the Ottawa 43. Garza tries to get them going again. Alphen out of bounds. Close to a first down for number 86.
Yeah, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for a quarter and a half, for all intents and purposes, have been pretty sluggish, and I'm sure Mike Kelly, their offensive coordinator, has sent down a message. Hey, get this guy involved in a hurry and get his buddy on the other side, 87 Wilcox. Hey, I know it's nice to try and involve our new wide receivers, but our bread and butter are our slots and our running back Woodside. Get them in the game in a hurry.
And it worked there for a first down for the Bombers, now inside the Ottawa 35 at the 33. Garza with time again, looking deep. Touched by Trudell.
And that's a premeditated read by Sammy Garza and not the right read. I mean, he does not take his eyes off Alphen the whole way. He's intending that, hey, this is my guy down the seam. Come heck or high water, I'm going to try and hit him. But Remy Trudell is there, and once again, had this ball been on target, it could have been picked off. I mean, you're talking about 3 passes here in a quarter and a half that Sammy Garza could have very easily had intercepted. Number 1, because of bad choices.
And Garza did have 1 intercepted that set up an Ottawa touchdown. 2nd and 10, Winnipeg. Heat on Garza this time. 3 Rough Riders are there, and he fired it to an open spot on the field. No one anywhere around. And the fans in Ottawa would like an intentionally grounding call.
Well, they might have a legitimate claim. There really wasn't anybody within 15, 20 yards of Sammy Garza, but Don Ellis, the head referee, and his crew decide to give him the benefit of the doubt. Good pressure from Ottawa up front that forced that play, and, you know, they got the good leverage. You know, I'm one guy, John, that believes Sammy Garza can do the job as a starting quarterback for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I know there is certainly question marks surrounding that position, but I think he's shown enough in his past 7 years with the Bombers. Hard to believe he's been there for 7 years, but I mean, he's having a tough first half, but I think he can get the job done.
Out of Matt Dunnigan's shadow and listed as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers starter for 1995, Sammy Garza. 3-minute warning in Ottawa for the Rough Riders, leading 11-6. You're watching CFL Live.
We have the gamut of bicycles, from children's bicycle right up to a mountain bike to a racing bike. Our product obviously makes it special. We have a dynamite product. I use the Advantage account codes to be cost efficient. With Advantage, I get one invoice per month. It's broken down exactly the way I want it, by territory, across Canada, by rep. The Advantage codes make my life very easy. I mean, it makes it easier for my budget. Being cost conscious is very important to every business in this day and age.
Ready for the final 3 minutes in the opening half in Ottawa, with the Rough Riders on top, 11-6. Blue Bombers set to try a field goal. Troy Westwood has been good on both previous attempts.
Oh, we haven't talked about the new uniforms. What do you think of those Bombers?
I love them.
The lightning bolts?
Lightning bolts. Kenny Plain had a lightning bolt on a Blue Bomber uniform back in 1961. The year they won the Grey Cup. Commissioner Larry Smith in the stands tonight. Got a great Larry Smith story of a moment here at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa a few years ago. All right. We'll get back to that after Troy Westwood makes this.
I know he likes the new look of uniforms throughout the league this year. Memphis and Toronto and Winnipeg.
Didn't make that one. I jinxed him. From 40 yards out, it's off the post. 2 for 3, Troy Westwood. Penalty marker down near the 20-yard line.
And this is the good side for a left-footed kicker. He likes the left hash, and you know, this should be his bread and butter side. You're going to see a little body bend here. You know, you got to work this one in. You can work it in, work it in.
Unnecessary roughness. Winnipeg number 66. Convert was no good. First out.
Well, the field goal was no good, and Miles Morrell is nailed for that. Not a happy guy right now. Ottawa 1st and 10 at the 40-yard line. The Rough Riders clinging to an 11-6 lead. 2:42 to go in the opening half. Michael Richardson packed from behind that time. K.D. Williams, number 44, was there to bring number 31 down from behind.
Good counter action for Michael Richardson. They get penetration up front from the Bombers, but that's a favorite play they like to use. I've been a little surprised. Ottawa loves to load up 3 receivers to the wide side of the field and work back to Ray Alexander, who's coming into the middle of your screen. And they really haven't gone to that formation much tonight. Used it a lot in preseason.
Loss of 1, 2nd 11. Shovel pass to Richardson. That's back up into the middle and stumbled almost there. He was pinned by Tony Hill.
Little shovel pass once again to Michael Richardson, but 99, Bill McCollins, the defensive end, keeps good leverage to the outside. There you see him at the left of your screen, forces Richardson back inside, and he trips and falls, but when he had to cut back in because of McCollins' leverage, he had no chance to pick up the first down.
So Baker in the punt again, standing this time inside his 35. Good kick to Alan Boyko, waiting near the 25. to the 30-yard line. Bombers will begin there with 1:59 to go till halftime.
So, Wellesley, what about this commissioner story? Is this a good one? Or?
Just a moment in time. 1978, 17 years ago today. Montreal Alouettes of the Ottawa Rough Riders 25-4. Guess who ran for the winning touchdown?
Must have been the commissioner.
Yeah, I thought it would have been a 4-yard plunge, but it says here 48 yards for a touchdown right here.
He ran for it.
And he ran.
Wow.
So, there you go.
Not bad. I didn't know he could go that far.
Well, neither did I.
Face masking.
Not a speedster.
Ottawa number 82.
And I would say that if he was sitting right here, because he might agree with me that there must have been a definite defensive breakdown to allow him to run 48 yards.
Penalty against the Rough Riders gives the Bombers a little better opportunity to begin at the 45-yard line. Woodside, and he's out for a gain of about 5 yards near the 50.
Well, you know, John, I said I thought Sammy Garza can do the job as a starting quarterback. I do believe that. Those are his numbers. Not overly impressive. But I'll tell you, there's one guy waiting in the wings that thinks he can do the job, and that's Terry Dean, their number 2 quarterback. We'll talk about him tonight, but he is not short of confidence.
44, Delane Knights got the big mitts up in front of Sammy Garza that time. Solid play by Knights. He's got great speed, 6'2", 205. Virginia Pauley, and he's another one of the Ottawa Rough Rider rookies.
Yeah, and here he comes. There he is right there. He's going to come into your picture. And this is no surprise for the Winnipeg offense. I mean, they've prepared for a blitzing defense tonight, and they're seeing a lot of it. It's just that nobody was there to pick him up, and no way Sammy Garza can throw through him. Boy, you have to like the way this young Ottawa defense has played here in the first half. Only 2 Westwood field goals.
Here's Ed Small waiting at the 21. He strung it out for a couple of yards on the return as we send you back to CFL Control.
Hey, coming up at McDonald's halftime, we've got a loaded show for you. We'll take a look at the North-South Division, catch up on our CFL news. We've got the NBA draft update as it continues at Sky Dome. The first overall pick, Joe Smith. We'll have more on that. We'll get John and Leif, get their comments on the first half. Let's go back to John and Leif down in Ottawa. Gentlemen.
And here we are. First down, Ottawa. Barrett for Richardson. Spun out the couple and managed to turn it into a few yards. It didn't look like there was much of a hole there at all, but Richardson spun and made a little something out of it.
But, John, I think you have to be impressed with the job the offensive line of the Rough Riders is doing tonight. It's really a makeshift group from training camp. Irv Damon, we talked about, only the real veteran with 10 years experience, but a couple of rookies at the tackle, Kai Bjorn and Chris Kennelly. But these guys are doing a great job run blocking. They haven't been asked to hold their blocks for a super long time in the passing game, but they've had a solid first half.
Gain of 6. This is 2nd and 4 Ottawa. Time running out in the first half. Ellingson makes the catch, and he's out of bounds with 1:04 to go till halftime.
John, that's exactly what Danny Barrett told me he was going to do to try and help his offensive line, was to set quickly and throw quickly to his inside guys, Jay Christensen, Duke Ellingson, number 85, that's getting a chance to play tonight at the slot back. But that's the key. Try and give his offensive line some confidence in their blocks by not making them block for too long.
Always loved the Duke, and he has a first down for Ottawa with 1:04 to go till halftime. Barrett sets up. Near side, Odessa Turner picked off. Bolden has the interception. Jerron Bolden, number 5. Another of the Bomber rookies. Second turnover of the game by the Bombers. They had a fumble earlier.
Jerron Bolden has tremendous speed. He is a 4.3 40 man. There's no way that Turner's going to outrun him, and Bolden has excellent position to the inside and is in the perfect spot to get his first interception. One of the 3 rookies starting in the secondary for the Bombers.
Jerron Bolden, number 5, and K.D. Williams, another speedster, number 44. Rookies in that Bomber defense used to chase each other around Tampa as kids. They grew up together just about every inch of the way. Here's Garza on first down. Under the cover. Tipped away.
CFL Live, brought to you in part by 3M Canada, imagining the unthinkable and developing the unknown. That's 3M Innovation at Work.
Solid play as we broke away there by number 23, Brett Young, to knock it away from Sammy Garza's intended receiver. 2nd and 10, Winnipeg now. Garza looking deep. Alphen couldn't hang on. Coverage that time by Gary Lewis. Ottawa's had some solid defensive plays so far tonight. Now 47 seconds till halftime. Lively place, Frank Clair Stadium this evening.
Nice job. Second break knockdown tonight by Gary Lewis. Alphen looked like he had it, but the left hand came up and knocked it away. Flawless first half performance by this Ottawa defense.
Enter Bob Cameron one more time. Averaging about 41 yards a punt through his 16-year CFL career. Ed Small waiting for the bounce. Picks it up at the 32. A little room to the outside, but he ran out of room. On the far side of the field, Darrell Sampson was there to close in. 37 seconds till the half. Reasonably entertaining first half of football. Not too many errors, and that's nice to see in the first game of a CFL season.
Well, as a coach, I mean, that's what you hope for at the beginning of the season, and any part of the season for that matter, is to try and play error-free football. And the Ottawa offense has really done that. They've been conservative, and rightfully so, but you know, they've done a solid job.
Barrett has been patient. Good on 8 of 15. He'll put it up again. Going deep for Richardson. He had tight coverage that time. Charlie Clemens, number 48, was with Michael Richardson step for step.
But normally you like to match up your running back against a linebacker, and 9 times out of 10 it's a desirable matchup for the offense. But you know, against Winnipeg, their linebackers are so quick that you know, a guy like Charlie Clemens can run with a Michael Richardson, and you know, right here he's with him. Richardson had a chance to make the catch, but it's not really a mismatch.
Clemens was around for 7 games in 1994. That flips it to 2nd and 10.
Yeah, he and Greg Clark are really the only 2 guys that have a lot of experience at that linebacker.
Barrett was thinking run all the way. A little quarterback draw there. K.D. Williams, number 44, was there to meet the Ottawa quarterback, and he's short of the first down. 29 seconds till the half.
Well, we talked about K.D. Williams' speed. Now watch the quarterback draw. I mean, he comes all the way. Second time he's come from behind to make a play. He caught Richardson earlier, and now he reads the quarterback draw and gets around the block of 68 Scott Douglas, and once again from behind, his speed makes the difference. Love those teeth.
K.D.
Can't really see it on your screen, but trust me, the initials are there.
Ottawa Rough Riders have decided on a timeout with 15 seconds to play in the opening half.
Now the media guide says that K.D. Williams and Jerron Bolden, the rookie corner, are cousins.
Well, I asked Jerron yesterday.
What did he say?
Said, well, not really cousins. We just kind of grew up together and called each other cousins. Oh. I was trying to find out what the relationship was. You know, if it was.
They were a couple of streets apart, so that's close enough to be a cousin, I guess.
Well, I guess they met at about grade 1 and went all the way through school together. Starting offensive new faces include Collins and Carpenter, the outside receivers, Darius Watson, K.D. Williams, Jason Millett. Talk about him a little bit later, native of Ottawa. He's had a solid camp and preseason for Winnipeg. Here's Alan Boyko ready to return with 7 seconds on the clock. Not time for much here for Sammy Garza. 48-yard punts. Baker's been knocking the stuffing out of the ball tonight.
Well, we talked about Ottawa wanting to be very competitive in the kicking game from a psychological standpoint, and they've certainly been able to do that in the first half. The numbers for Sammy Garza tell you that he hasn't had a very good first half. Really hasn't hurt himself. I mean, he had the one interception, but could have been a lot worse. He's had some balls he's thrown that might have been picked off. But I think he'll go in at halftime, have a chat with Mike Kelly, and come out and with some renewed enthusiasm in the second half. It's been a pretty sluggish performance for his group.
Now 4 seconds to go.
You know, one of the things Cal Murphy did say that they had a lot of little injuries throughout training camp where the receivers and the backs, they were never all together at practice day in and day out. And, you know, with a shortened training camp as it is now, it's very difficult. You know, your first 2 weeks of the season still are like a training camp. So it's not surprising that maybe they are struggling here in the first half.
That'll do it for the first half. The Bombers moved all quickly early. The Ottawa Rough Riders won the second quarter, no doubt about it. Ottawa goes to the dressing room with an 11-6 lead at the half. As we send you back now to CFL Control.
McDonald's Halftime, presented by your local McDonald's restaurant. Here's Darren Detition.
Welcome to halftime. The theme of the CFL has been changed for what seemed like an eternity. It has always been East versus West, battling for the Grey Cup. But this season it's different. The CFL has realigned along the 49th parallel, and now it's the North and the South. The North is comprised of 8 Canadian teams, making the division a dogfight from Ottawa to Vancouver. The Western teams, Calgary, and the defending champions from BC. They are the Lions and they are the clubs to beat. The South is comprised of only 5 teams. The expansion, Memphis Mad Dogs and the Birmingham Barracudas. The second-year squads in Shreveport and Baltimore, and the former Sacramento Gold Miners, who are now the San Antonio Texans. They all comprise the division. So with 8 teams up top and 5 down below, just how will the playoffs work? Well, we're not completely sure, and neither is the CFL. The playoff format has not been finalized as of yet, but this is the most probable scenario. 5 teams from the North will make the playoffs. 3 teams from the South. The 5th-seeded club from the North would then slide down into the Southern Division, giving both divisions 4 teams apiece. As I said, that's the most probable scenario. Nonetheless, we know it is a busy schedule for the rest of this week in the Canadian Football League. We're heading into the Canada Day long weekend, and it should be fantastic. Tomorrow night, Damon Allen and the Memphis Mad Dogs will take on Doug Flutie and the Calgary Stampeders in Cowtown. And then on Friday, the Tabbies will kick off the '95 season at Taylor Field against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, which, of course, is the site of this year's Grey Cup. And who can forget last year's Grey Cup? It's a rematch on Friday as the Baltimore CFLers clash with the Lions in BC Place. We'll have that game for you starting at 10:30 Eastern. Now, Saturday, the schedule takes us to Edmonton for the Eskimos home opener against the Argos, and we will be there starting at 3:30 Eastern. Like I said before, it should be a fantastic week in the Canadian Football League. It's going to be a great 45 games on TSN. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. We're back with more NBA in just a few moments.
Blocks of time passing by.
It is draft night tonight. Of course, this is the Canadian Football League, and the top picks in 1995. Hamilton with the first selection took Tom Newton. He's an O-lineman from Western Michigan. You've got Saskatchewan, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, and British Columbia. There you see the top 8 the CFL selected this season. Of course, the big draft here in Toronto is taking place at Skydome. It is history in the making, folks. Never in the history of the NBA has their draft been held outside of the United States. You've got the Vancouver Grizzlies and Toronto Raptors who are making history in the process. And tonight they made their selections, and we can say that, yes, they have arrived to the NBA. We have this recap of the draft thus far.
With the first pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Joe Smith from the University of Maryland.
The dream come true. More than a surprise. I worked very hard for it, and I mean it's a great accomplishment for myself. I mean, I'm all choked up a little bit right now, but I mean it's a great accomplishment for myself.
The second pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Los Angeles Clippers select Antonio McDyess from the University of Alabama.
I'm real surprised. I mean, I never thought I'd be in that position so quick, but it came, and it's a great honor to me, you know. And and I'm happy, and my family is too. I'm going to give it 100% on the court. I mean, I'm going to bring hard work. I mean, without that, I don't think it'll be a good team. So I'm trying to challenge. I'm willing to do what I can.
With the 6th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Vancouver Grizzlies select Bryant Reeves from Oklahoma State University.
Well, you know, I think I'll be able to step up my game to play these guys. You know, I've watched these guys on TV all the time, and you know, to be able to go against them is going to be a dream. You know, the first time I don't necessarily want to look at the box score afterwards, but you know, I'll be ready to play against them every night. You have to listen to people that have been there, know what's going on. You know, that's the way I try to approach it. I listen to the veterans, listen to the coaching staff, and just give it 150%, and everything will happen good for you.
With the 7th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, their first draft and their first pick, the Toronto Raptors select Damon Stoudemire from the University of Arizona.
You know, all I know is I'm just happy that Toronto and Isaiah Thomas and Brendan Malone and the organization just gave me this opportunity, and I'm going to try to make the most of it. I don't know how much I'm going to have to change my game, but I'm willing to do anything I can to help this Toronto Raptors organization be successful.
Bryant Reeves and Damon Stoudemire, they will be trivia somewhere along the line. Could you imagine walking into the Sky Dome tonight? You're a collegiate kid. The next thing you know, you get drafted, and when you walk out, you are guaranteed to be a multi-millionaire. They're going to make some big dough. We know that Leaf and John make big dough. I'm the new guy, so I'm somewhere in between. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the Canadian Football League's first half of this season. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment.
Well, I shopped around a lot, and the Honda Accord was one of the cars that I looked at, but I fell in love with the Ford Contour because it's exhilarating to drive. When I say to my family and friends, ooh, it's got a Duratec engine, everybody's like, oh, really? The best kind of driving would be bright sunshine to somewhere fun. With the Contour, it's like, oh, it's only an hour and a half.
Camping can be great fun, but not when it's ruined by stiff neck muscles and nagging back pain. Wake up to OrthoMat, the incredible new orthopedic mattress and pillow combination from SuperTech. Look, ordinary pillows are impossible. They're bulky and awkward. OrthoMat is a convenient one-piece unit that rolls up tight and compact. But the true secret of OrthoMat is in its space-age design. Feather light and very durable, OrthoMat provides positive orthopedic support for your neck, shoulders, and back. It even has its own moisture barrier. You wake up refreshed and ready for a great day. OrthoMat is the ideal companion for hunting, canoe or fishing trips, camping, or hiking. Kids having a sleepover, OrthoMat is an inexpensive way to turn floor space into sleep space. When you're at the cottage, OrthoMat is perfect for those indoor campouts for your littlest adventurer. Say goodbye to rough nights, hello to magnificent mornings with the amazing OrthoMat, the world's first orthopedic mattress and pillow combination from SuperTech.
OrthoMat, available exclusively at Canadian Tire.
CFL Legends, brought to you by McDonald's. Tom Clements was one of the best big game quarterbacks in CFL history. More on his story in a moment.
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
Introducing McDonald's Superhero Burger. Tomatoes, crisp lettuce, the great taste of 2 processed cheeses melted over 3 beef patties on a superhero bun. It's McDonald's Taste of the Month everyone's making a break for.
Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?
After an All-American collegiate career at Notre Dame, Tom Clements arrived in Ottawa in 1975. 1 year later, he was the trigger man in one of the most memorable plays in Grey Cup history as he found Tony Gabriel for the winning touchdown in the final seconds of the '76 title game. After spending time in both Saskatchewan and Hamilton, Clements was traded to Winnipeg, and he promptly led the Bombers to the '84 Grey Cup title. Tom Clements, a 7-time All-Star and CFL legend. And you can see more on Clements and other Canadian football legends at the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in Hamilton. CFL Legends, brought to you by your local McDonald's restaurant. McDonald's Halftime, brought to you by your local McDonald's restaurant.
Hey, welcome back to McDonald's Halftime. So much of a surprising start thus far. The Roughies off to a great start. They lead by a count of 11-6. The Bombers, though, their inability to move the ball is catching up with them. At least it has thus far. Westwood with a couple of field goals. This is the game story thus far. Garza, 11 of 24, 112 yards. Richardson also a difference. Let's go to John and Leaf with their thoughts on the first half.
I look at Ottawa Rough Riders being rather pleased with the first half. It's only one half of game one, but they have to be a little bit happy.
Well, I think they did a great job. Offensively, I don't think they have to change a thing. Keep the ball in Michael Richardson's hands. And on defense, you know, they've taken a lot of chances with the blitz, but they haven't been caught yet.
Different story for the Bombers, who have to make some adjustments. What does Sammy Garza do?
Well, I think what he has to do against this Ottawa defense, hey, he's tried the wide receivers. They haven't worked. He's tried Alford and Wilcox inside. It really hasn't worked. He's got to go to Keith Woodside, the running back. Use him coming out of the backfield, maybe get the matchup against Remy Trudell or an inexperienced linebacker. But Keith Woodside, to me, has to be the adjustment in the second half. He has to touch the ball receiving.
We'll watch for number 33 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Keith Woodside. Second half is coming up from Ottawa in just a moment as we send you back to CFL Control.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Once again, a rather surprising start. The Roughies out in front of the Bombers by a score of 11-6. We've still got loads more to come. Stay tuned. You are watching the CFL Live on TSN.
There are no medals for being the shoulder to cry on. No songs of praise for keeping traditions alive. But to the men who give their best every day, we offer our best. Gillette Sensor XL. Spring-mounted blades and microfins to set up your beard. And Gillette Series shaving gel for incredible smoothness. Sensor XL, the world's best shave. And sometimes that's its own reward. Gillette, the best a man can get.
Persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through. Introducing McDonald's Superhero Burger. Tomatoes, crisp lettuce, the great taste of 2 processed cheeses melted over 3 beef patties on a superhero bun. It's McDonald's Taste of the Month everyone's making a break for.
Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?
Welcome back to Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. Ready to begin the second half with the Ottawa Rough Riders leading the Blue Bombers 11-6. Ottawa, very solid second quarter in particular. 1 turnover led to a touchdown. Halftime stats look like this with time of possession favoring Ottawa. They came from behind to take over in that category. In net yards, Ottawa leading by 20. In turnovers, 2 by the Rough Riders, 1 by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Sammy Garza started off well and then had a little difficulty. 11 for 24, 112 yards. Danny Barrett good on 8 of 17 for 75 yards.
Well, Danny Barrett did a good job using the short passing game. That's what he said he wanted to do tonight. And number 1, it establishes momentum if you're completing balls. And number 2, it alleviates some pressure on your offensive line that they have to hold blocks for a long period of time. So he really accomplished what he set out to do in the first half. He wanted to isolate Ray Alexander one-on-one on Jerron Bolden. He did that, but that was his only interception. So he really did 2 out of 3 things that he wanted to do, and he did them well.
Second half underway. Westwood underneath this one. It's Small on the return. He's across the 20. Up to the 30 into about the 37-yard line. Back at the 40. He's out all that way. Good field position for the Blue Bombers.
But John, we talked about the running backs at halftime. Keith Woodside for the Bombers has to get more involved. The numbers for both of them in the first half. Michael Richardson, well, he had a good first half on the ground. There are his numbers: 11 carries, 70 yards, well on his way to a 100-yard night. Woodside did not touch the ball nearly as much, but hey, that's not a bad average. 5 yards a pop there. But I think they need to get Woodside in the passing game.
Ottawa 1st and 10 out across the 40 at the 41-yard line. Danny Barrett has the lead to start the second half. And Michael Richardson has the ball. Penalty markers are down. The ball is loose. Clemens making the tackle, number 48.
Well, the two outside linebackers of the Bombers, K.D. Williams and Charlie Clemens, really have run down the play from behind well. Clemens made the play there. Unfortunately, the Bombers are called for offside, but, you know, it's worth a look to the right side of your screen. It's the counter trap to Richardson.
Winnipeg,
and you can't
99.
block everybody on the counter trap. You're hoping that your running back can outrun the weak side of the play where Clemens was, but Richardson wasn't able to do it.
Sigh of relief for rookie CFL head coach Jim Gilstrap. 9 years an assistant in the league and finally got a chance to be a head guy in Ottawa in 1995. This is 1st and 5, and this is Michael Richardson. And again, the Bombers stuff up the hole with McCollins and Doug Hocking, number 38. Randolph is also in there. Randolph actually lost a starting job to one of those new linebackers this year. K.D. Williams, just a little more speed than Randolph, who is listed as a backup, although he's in there right now. He'll rotate through, but not listed as a starter this year. Little or no gain. It's still second. Still 5 yards to go on second down this time. Barrett puts it up, and it's behind his intended receiver. The catch, though, is made. Ray Alexander, far side. On Bolden that time.
Well, this is a matchup we thought that Danny Barrett might go to, and Bolden got one for the interception. But watch as Alexander goes up. The ball is thrown behind him on purpose. This is a planned play between quarterback and receiver. Look, Barrett throws it behind because he knows Alexander can see it. Bolden's head is turned around, can't locate the football. That's a planned play, and it worked to perfection.
Yeah, veteran wins one from the rookie right there in the corner.
Well, it's a corner. I mean, you just can't snap that head around fast enough to locate the football. It's impossible.
Yeah. Out the 48 on 1st down. Barrett to his left. Alexander's sideline pattern. And they missed connecting on that one. Barrett and Alexander together with the BC Lions a couple of years back.
Well, once again, the same area to try and attack. Alexander working up the sidelines. This play takes a long time to develop, and Danny Barrett waits and waits and waits, and finally when he pulls the trigger, you know, he just wasn't set up properly to try and complete that ball. Alexander maybe should have had it, but no doubt the intent is to try and work on the newcomer, Jerron Bolden.
Odessa Turner, number 80, to the near side, just out of your picture now. It's Alexander playing to the top of your screen. Barrett looked for Richardson. Coverage supplied by Charlie Clemens, number 48.
Well, nevertheless, Jim Gilstrap's offense started the third quarter nicely. They picked up a couple of first downs. They got the good field position. So now when they have to give it up, I mean, Terry Baker gets to come in and kick from Winnipeg's side of the field and, you know, try and pin them deep. And, boy, it's all a game of field position. And when you're a young team trying to gel, as the Ottawa Rough Riders are, if you can win the field position battles, I mean, your chances of winning the game are increased immensely.
Baker's having a great night, averaging 49 yards a punt. This is another boomer. And Boyko lets it bounce at the 1-yard line and roll into the end zone.
Well, he's lucky he got what he wanted. He was just saying, get in that end zone.
Roll in. We'll give up the points. 52-yard single. One more for the Ottawa Rough Riders, who have doubled the count on Winnipeg so far.
It's hot off the grill. The Keg 69 Classic Camaro Contest. To get your share of the action, just visit the Keg and sink your teeth into a juicy keg steak or cool down with a refreshing Lipton Original Iced Tea. Fill out a ballot and enter it into the specially marked ballot box. Then, dream about your chance to win this classic beauty. Or you could win a free keg dinner during the Keg 69 Classic Camaro Contest. It's hot.
Started off delivery driver, and from driver to snow shoveler to printer, now big entrepreneur guy about town. My business advantage is our technology, and technology comes at a cost. It's important that I have a saving. The Advantage plan definitely gives me a saving. It says total Advantage savings, 56%. The money we save goes toward new technology, and that's what's given us our advantage over our competition.
back live in Ottawa, the debut of Jim Gilstrap as head coach of the Ottawa Rough Riders against his old boss, Cal Murphy. Gilstrap and Murphy together on the '90 Winnipeg Blue Bomber Grey Cup team. Gilstrap, a head coach at Fort Hays State in college football. Now, where's Fort Hays State, I said to him yesterday. Well, it's on the plains of Kansas somewhere, Lever. That's a few years ago.
I've learned something tonight. So I asked Jim Gilstrap yesterday, you know, the transition obviously from assistant to head coach is a large one, but, you know, he said it made it a lot easier working for some men that he really admired and kind of patted himself after. One, of course, was Cal Murphy. The other was Bob Abilovich, who he was the offensive line coach for with the Toronto Argonauts a few years ago. So he's had some good guys to learn with and, you know, learn how they handle a football club. And handling the personalities is probably the most difficult transition an assistant coach has to make. You're no longer the nice guy to, you know, as a position coach. You know, you're making the hard decisions day in and day out, and you're no longer Mr. Nice Guy to everybody.
Gilstrap has made an impression with the Ottawa Rough Rider veterans, though. He's got a very dry sense of humor. Terry Baker says he's a nice guy to play for. First down, Sammy Garza. And he's on target for Collins. Collins had the catch and didn't lose the ball. It looks like a turnover going Ottawa's way. Now penalty markers fly. Sean Collins had enough for the first down after a 16-yard reception. But the ball popped loose, and at the bottom of the pile is Remy Trudel. He had the interception for Ottawa earlier tonight, and it looks like he's claiming the fumble down there. And after Trudel came up with the ball, some rough stuff down there, and the flags flew. 2 turnovers for Trudel. The interception.
What conduct, Winnipeg?
Objectionable conduct, Winnipeg, is the indication there. The mic wasn't working very clearly. Don Ellis is in charge of things. Now we'll hear it.
Disqualification. Winnipeg number 33. Objectionable conduct. Winnipeg number 57. First down. Okay.
Well, there goes your plan for the second half. Get the ball to the inside.
You got it. Let's see how the fumble was created. Sean Collins, the reception there, but here comes old Remy Trudel. He'll end up with the fumble recovery, and then the fun starts with the ejection and the objectionable conduct. Some pretty solid hits. Ball lying around. Remy Trudel, there he is, pounces on it, but hey, yeah, now how are they going to adjust to Woodside when he's in the locker room? There goes my plan.
I think it's right out the window. Plan B, or maybe C. March. The objectionable conduct against Brett McNeil, number 57, and the disqualification against Keith Woodside.
So there's 30 yards.
Yeah, right there.
And yeah, the blood pressure will start to rise quickly on Cal Murphy. Boy, oh boy, you know, you hate to beat yourself, and not only is the turnover bad enough, but now 30 yards. Okay. Well, I don't know.
Actually, he hit the referee there with his hand, or the official, rather. Well, that explains it pretty well there.
No. He's trying to say, hey, Al McColeman. No. The ball's going the other way. He's trying to put his arm going first down the other way.
Yeah.
You can't do that. What a silly, silly play. My, oh, my.
Keith Woodside gone for the night. The Bombers down 12-6. Early third quarter. And look for the Ottawa Rough Riders, who set out with 30 yards in penalties. First and 10 at the Winnipeg 12. Bushy gets the call, number 30. And Katie Williams, number 44, is there for the Bombers.
Once again, it's that speed of the Bombers' outside linebackers coming down hard off the corners. And there's nobody accounted for to block these 2 linebackers, Clemens and Katie Williams, on these types of running plays, and they have been making the plays from behind all night long. Boy, there is no substitute for speed on a football team.
Gain is 1 yard. Second and 9 now. Ottawa at the Bomber 15. Barrett to his right, has a little running room outside. Barrett crashes down near the 10-yard line. And Katie Williams closed on him quickly. It looked like a bigger hole for Danny Barrett. He's short of the first down.
This was a tough call for Danny Barrett. You know, he's the kind of guy that doesn't beat himself. He doesn't want to take a chance here. He's got the automatic 3 with Terry Baker. He's thinking, do I try and get it to Turner, or do I swallow it and try and run for it? He knows he's not going to get the first down, but I mean, throughout his whole career, he has played that way. He's a high percentage quarterback, no risks if it's possible, and now he has a chance to at least get 3 points out of that turnover. You know, some people may argue you only get so many chances in a game to score touchdowns, and this was one of those occasions. But I think, you know, when you've got the lead, you play it close to the vest.
Here's Baker from just outside the 15 and on target again. Baker got on 2 of 3 tonight, padding the Ottawa lead to 15-6.
Well, we talked in our opening, John, about the new linebacking core of the Bombers, and K.D. Williams has played well. Here he is, and, you know, this is the second time in the game, actually third time in the game, that he's come from behind to make a play. Now, they're trying to run inside, and you can't block everybody. And, you know, Charlie Clemens has made a play. Look, he slashes the inside position there and gets Paul Bushy, but, you know, he really has lived up to the billing that they told us.
So what do the Bombers do offensively now with Woodside on the sidelines? They're not deep in running backs on this roster. Chris Johnstone is in. And picked off again. Remy Trudell's second interception of the night to go along with a fumble recovery. And here's Trudell all the way down inside the 30-yard line. 33-yard return. Turnover by Trudell himself. Souvenir, yes, sir.
Well, you got to give Remy Trudell credit. He's in the middle here, his second interception of the night. But hey, he knows Garza wants to go to the comfort zone, and that's his 2 slot backs. So he's thinking that seam down the middle, and he comes over and steps in front of Alpin to make the interception.
Yeah, this is a nice catch too. Watch this. Hupke with heat on Sammy Garza. And Trudell really makes a nice catch on the interception. All 3 Ottawa turnovers by Trudell. Penalty markers are down. Richardson, the intended receiver, on first down from Danny Barrett.
You go back to Remy Trudell. I mean, that's what you ask for from your middle safety. You ask for him to give you a protection over the top. If those inside receivers or even the wide receivers on post patterns beat their men, you've got to have the guy in the middle helping you out. He's done it to perfection tonight. Hey, you don't think he's happy? 2 picks and a fumble recovery. Not bad.
Played some in British Columbia a couple of years ago. 18 games with the Lions.
Well, you know, the Ottawa Rough Riders have 10 points off Winnipeg turnovers already tonight.
Offside against the Bombers, setting up a 1st and 5. And that's Paul Bushy, number 30, getting the call.
Nice to see Paul Bushy getting a starting assignment. You know, traditionally a special teams player with the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and did some outstanding work with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and now getting a chance to start at fullback when they traded Joseph. He won't touch it a lot with Michael Richardson, but, you know, it's nice to see him get that starting slot.
The exchange that he missed at running back Darren Joseph to Saskatchewan for tackle Chris Burns, who'll be in Ottawa later this week and joining the Rough Riders. Here's Barrett. Touchdown!
Second and short. The middle is vacated. He gets the down block from James Monroe. Boy, oh boy, did that open up. Wellesley, I hesitate, but I think you might have gotten it in there too. What do you think?
I might have been able to fit through the hole.
Hey, 17 points on Winnipeg turnovers. That is the story of this ball game.
And Remy Trudell has all 3 Ottawa turnovers, or has created all 3. 2 interceptions, the fumble return as well. The Ottawa Rough Riders have taken full advantage. So you got to credit this guy, number 8, Danny Barrett, for getting it into the end zone. Not only here, but on the touchdown toss earlier. Ottawa in front, 22-6. You're watching CFL Live.
Dad? Son, been a long time, Dad. It's been a long trip, son. How about throwing me a cold one? Just like old times, huh, Dad? Just like the old days. This isn't a Pepsi. I know. I saved 9 cents. Unbelievable. Kid saved a lousy 9 cents.
At the Keg, we welcome you to be our guest for a night of fun, steaks on the grill, and lots of juicy details. That's why people keep coming back to the Keg. Great steaks, good friends. See you tonight.
Ottawa Rough Riders solid in the second quarter and again in the third for a 22-6 lead on Winnipeg. Danny Barrett has the latest Ottawa touchdown. Looks nice.
I'm going to show you 2 reasons why this play works. Number 1, it's the scheme. When Paul Bushy goes that way, hey, so does Jason Millette. And then you get the double team on the nose with James Monroe, the guard, and Irv Damon, the center. Watch what happens. Hey, Millette, he's gone. He's out of it. There goes Randolph. Boom. Big hole. Mikolas, he doesn't stand a chance on the double team. Danny Barrett just slides his way into the end zone.
That was a nice slide.
The
He glided
slide.
right in there. Here's the Ottawa kickoff. Terry Baker is set. Watson is deep. And so is Burris. At the 15, this is Ken Burris. Fighting his way to about the 27-yard line. Number 44, Dwayne Knight, leading the tacklers for the Ottawa Rough Riders there. 3 plays to travel 27 yards in a minute 10. And Danny Barrett into the end zone on a 17-yard touchdown run.
You know what I like to see, John, though? Every play has a purpose. You know, some people say, well, they send the guy in motion and just run the sneak. It doesn't mean a lot. By sending Bushy in motion, that created the touchdown because that took away Millette. I mean, so every play has a scheme and a purpose.
Have to give that Ottawa offensive line some credit. They made some big openings for Richardson in the first half and a big one for Barrett there. Carpenter couldn't make the catch. And Emmanuel Martin, who's had a solid game for Ottawa, was covering.
You know, John Cal Murphy said yesterday that with so many injuries during training camp, Rob Carpenter had to do a lot of extra running and more running they would have liked to. And you know, I really think the 2 wide receivers for Winnipeg look tired tonight. You know, 2 preseason games, 2-a-day practices, and Carpenter to me doesn't look like he's able to run at 100%.
It is Carpenter to the near side this time on 2nd and 10. Sammy Garza on target for Alpha, number 86. Looks to be a half-yard short of the first down. See where they spot the ball.
One of the better throws that Garza has made in this game is he's able to step up on that left foot and deliver the ball with some velocity. Alphen working back to the quarterback to keep his separation. They do, however, come up a little bit short, but trailing by 16 points, Cal Murphy will go for it.
Might be up to Garza himself here. He's short his number 1 running back, and Garza does keep. Look a little contained to the outside, has plenty for the first down.
Just to set the lineup for you with the ejection to Keith Woodside, their import running back. Alan Wetmore, number 39, comes into the game to replace him. Now, he is a fullback, and of course with Chris Johnstone being a fullback, they really do not have any speed in that backfield. And you know, the way things have gone, that could be a real detriment for the Bomber offense.
Carpenter to the near side. The other wide receiver, Sean Collins. Flank to the far side of the field, and that's where Garza looks for Sean Collins, but it was well over his head.
Well, John, I don't think there's any question. The game story has been the play of number 24, Remy Trudel. 3 turnovers off 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery have resulted in 17 of Ottawa's 22 points. Pretty impressive performance by Remy Trudel. And of course, give the offense credit. They've taken advantage of it nicely.
Absolutely. 2nd and 10. Blue Bombers out across the 40 at the 41. 6:29 to play. 3rd quarter. Garza. Collins made the catch somehow and rolled back to him, number 80. Sean Collins had it go through his hands, I believe, and then it rolled right back. 15-yard gain. Bombers will take it. They need a first down badly.
Yeah, they make some big plays badly, and that was a big play by Sean Collins. That was a tough catch. Good concentration as Jeter came over the top of him, but somehow he was able to scoop it off the ground. Well, it hit Jeter.
Oh, yeah, sure it did. Rolled right back in under the left arm. 13 yards. First down, Winnipeg, just shy of midfield. Garza on target for Wilcox. Took a pretty good hit from Brett Young, but he held on.
Wilcox, right down by Brett Young on the play.
Pretty tough play for a defensive back to try and cover, especially when Wilcox is 6'2". Here's Brett Young, and you know all Wilcox does is turn to the inside, and there's really no way you can break it up. All you want to make sure you do is make the tackle. Don't let him slip away and get any extra yardage.
First catch of the ball game for Wilcox.
Really shows you why they're struggling.
That could be part of the reason. He caught a bunch last year, 111 for 1,624 yards. Here's Chris Johnstone, finds a big hole, and the Bombers did find a running game with Woodside on the sidelines, at least on that play. Johnstone rambles for 14.
Good hole over the right side. That's David Black and Chris Walby, cut back by Chris Johnstone, and Mark Dubé, number 34, the starting middle linebacker tonight. First start ever for him. Can't make the play. That's the play the middle linebacker has to make, and he can't get there. Johnstone with a good pickup.
First and 10 Bombers at the Ottawa 33. Solid march engineered by Sammy Garza. Johnstone again. Hit by number 94, Anthony Bell, and there wasn't as much running room that time. Ottawa on the lead at 22-6.
Well, Winnipeg desperately needs to have something good happen on this drive. It's been a well put together drive by Sammy Garza, mixing it up nicely. Some completions to Wilcox. 9th play actually in this drive. Mixed it up nicely with the running game, but trailing by 16, and they need something here.
On 2nd and 7. Garza buys a little time. Now markers are down. Garza looks to take off himself. He'll have enough for the first down, but that penalty marker might well be against the Bombers. 12 yards for Garza. We'll see what the infraction is. Holding is the initial indication from referee Don Ellis.
Holding. Winnipeg number 57. Second down repeated.
That's Brett McNeil.
The Ottawa Rough Riders were running a tackle and twist, and Brett McNeil, number 57, right here. You watch, he gets caught. Lloyd Lewis will come down through his face. Kropke goes to the outside, and you know, Brett McNeil, really, he takes the punishment. I mean, I don't know how you can get called for holding there, but anyway, he gets flagged.
That sets up 2nd and 17. Garza down for the first time. Lloyd Lewis with Garza last year in Winnipeg, back in Ottawa, and happy to be here. Loss of 10 yards. Lewis, first sack of the season. He had about 9 with the Bombers last year.
And there he is right there. 9 sacks a year ago with Winnipeg and began his career in Ottawa. You don't think he's excited about coming back here, his 11th year, to play this opening game against his old mates, and what a great effort. Got the holding call in the last penalty, and now a sack. 2 in a row for the old veteran.
And Small deep for Ottawa, not the deepest kick for Cameron. Small hesitated. Oh, and he got decked. Ottawa first down. When we return, it's Brendan Rodgers, special team star for the Bombers, with a hit there. 22-6, Ottawa in the lead.
It's hot off the grill. The Keg 69 Classic Camaro Contest. To get your share of the action, just visit Keg and sink your teeth into a juicy Keg steak or cool down with a refreshing Lipton Original Iced Tea. Fill out a ballot and enter it into the specially marked ballot box. Then Dream about your chance to win this classic beauty. Or you could win a free keg dinner during the Keg 69 Classic Camaro Contest. It's hot.
20-foot baskets, 300-point games, 100-yard courts. In the future, athletes will make the game faster, farther, tougher. But today's athlete can choose new All-Sport. Fluid replacement, unsurpassed taste, 4 thirst-quenching flavors. All-Sport is a body quencher. So before it gets to this, new All-Sport, the game will never be the same.
Stay tuned following the game for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Royal LePage, the real estate professionals that make the difference. Aim higher with Royal LePage.
Last year, hundreds upon hundreds joined the force. When you're buying or selling, call the force in real estate. Royal LePage.
3:02 to play in the third quarter at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa, with the Rough Riders on top of the Blue Bombers, 22-6. Last Winnipeg possession, 5:49, 11 plays, but the Bombers didn't get a point. Ottawa first down. Beginning at the 18, here's Barrett, cool and calm, looking for Turner. Nice catch. Burris made the tackle. Turner had a touchdown earlier. 31 yards in the catch there, Lieber.
And had Danny Barrett been able to get him the ball quicker, Turner was off and running. He absolutely does a nice swim over the top of Ken Burris, who's up challenging in the bump and run. And he had him beaten badly, but the ball hung up just enough. But still a good adjustment for Turner to get back and make a key catch to get Ottawa some breathing room. Well, that's what you want to do. Get 1 or 2 first downs and reestablish that field position. They did it in one play.
Now at the 49 with a first down. Michael Richardson breaks through. Solid running all night for number 31. And he's all the way down to the Winnipeg 40. Likes to run against the guys in blue and gold. 22 yards for Mike Richardson.
Over that right side again with James Monroe and Kai Bjorn, the right tackle. Some solid running room. Get the good double team, and Paul Bushy, number 30, neutralizes his man, Charlie Clemens, and just enough for Richardson to sneak through. Boy, as a fullback coming out the block, if you get that neutralization of the linebacker, you're away to the races.
Barrett was left alone on the outside and now has to run for his life. Randolph, 36, made the tackle. K.D. Williams was in hot pursuit. Something broke down there, but Barrett escaped.
I think that was a naked bootleg on purpose by Danny Barrett, you know, faking that counter trap to Richardson. He obviously saw something that he thought he could sneak one by K.D. Williams and get him to penetrate down inside, but to Williams' credit, he read it perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you try and take advantage of an over-aggressive young linebacker, but boy, K.D. Williams showed us something there.
2nd and 2. Bushy got the call.
But isn't that funny? You know, Danny Barrett, a veteran quarterback with all kinds of smarts. He gets to one big play to give himself some breathing room. Now what does he do? Boom, stay on the ground, grind it, wear time off that clock, wear down that defensive front of Winnipeg. He's a smart cookie.
He's taking a lot of time off the clock in the third quarter, ticking down to 13 seconds to go now with Ottawa in front, 22-6.
Now you betcha he's in scoring territory. There you see the clock winding down, and he knows he's got some points here. I think there's some people around the country that are surprised at the way this game is unfolding.
I'm sure there are some people in the booth on 3rd and 2 where Richardson got the call, and we'll see where they spot the ball. Bombers say no. But the Rough Riders are confident behind Irv Damon that time, number 54. End of quarter 3. And the Ottawa Rough Riders continue to control the Winnipeg Blue Bombers heading to the fourth quarter. Ottawa with a first down, leading 22-6. Let's go back to CFL Control.
This CFL Live update is brought to you by Mariner Outboards, better in the long run.
Hey, it's a great night in the world of sports. You got the CFL season opener, you've got the NBA draft going down at Skydome, and of course, Major League Baseball. And could the drought be over? The Toronto Blue Jays, losers of 8 straight, currently lead Boston by a score of 4-1. I hope I didn't jinx them. They are in the 8th inning. Once again, Mike Greenwell with a solo shot supplying the offense for the Bo Sox. The Montreal Expos in action this afternoon. They lose by a count of 4-3 to Atlanta. Dave Justice ripped a 2-run homer in the 9th inning. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, an NBA update. Stay tuned.
Call now for further information or a free catalog.
Well, the NBA draft, it continues at Skydome. They are now into the latter picks of the first round. We will continue to monitor it for you and pass along all the details. Let's go back to Leaf and John in Ottawa.
And we're back, zeroing in on the football to begin the fourth quarter in Ottawa tonight, with the Rough Riders leading 22-6 in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. A surprise in many ways that Ottawa has been able to dominate the Bombers. But they're full value for their lead. And it's come down to talking about the quarterbacks, Leaf. Danny Barrett with a little more experience, poise, and calmness playing against Sam Garza. The numbers up for the third quarter. 3 turnovers given up by the Bombers, 2 by the Ottawa Rough Riders. 266 net yards favoring Ottawa.
And slowly you see that Ottawa, after 3 quarters, has taken over in the domination of this game. 4 extra minutes they've had the football, their total yards, and hey, it's the leadership of Danny Barrett. He's got the savvy, the experience, and it's showing.
Well said. First down, Ottawa at the 29. Barrett looks to the corner. Turner couldn't hang on. Odessa Turner had a touchdown on that corner a little bit earlier. Not this time.
But it looked like he was there. Danny Barrett going back to that matchup with Turner against Ken Barres. Turner had been able to get by him in that bump and run coverage back in the third corner, but that time a good play by Barres to get the left hand in there. And you know, Danny's thinking, geez, if I just threw it another foot, I might have been able to make the play.
He does have the biggest smile in football, no doubt about it. 2nd and 10. Barrett to his right. Sideline pattern. Alexander, they say, out of bounds. Still, the Ottawa Rough Riders have a chance to add to their total.
Boy, some pretty good heat coming for Danny Barrett at the end. Now they get the block they went on Clemens, but whoa, here comes Greg Clark, and Barrett has to unload. Fires a strike, but receiver out of bounds. Barrett's taken some good shots in this game.
He was sacked a few times in the preseason, 6 in one game against Baltimore. Spotting at the 36-yard line for Baker. 3rd field goal of the game for Terry Baker. Shanked his first. He's hit 3 in a row. Ottawa in front of Winnipeg now, 25-6 on CFL Live.
CFL Live, brought to you in part by The Keg, where good friends get together to enjoy great steaks and share some fun.
Solid night for the Ottawa Rough Riders, both sides of the ball. A lot of concern about the offensive line. Well, the guys up front have performed admirably, opening some big holes for Mike Richardson. And now it's Sammy Garza's turn again. Garza, out pattern, Gerald Alford.
You know, John, some people might be saying, hey, Sammy Garza's struggling tonight. That's no secret. Why doesn't Cal Murphy make a switch? Because, hey, Garza hasn't led this team much in the past. He's always been the #2 guy. Sure, he started games, but why doesn't Cal Murphy make a switch and put Terry Dean in or Steve Pallure? I think he's making a statement to the team. He doesn't want to get into quarterbacking controversies. He's saying, hey, Garza is my #1 quarterback until he really proves that he can't be the #1 quarterback. It's going to be his job. And I kind of agree with that thinking at this time of the year.
2nd and 1, and Garza should have the first down. Numbers on the quarterbacks look like this: 16 of 32 for 167 for Garza, 10 of 23, 121 for Danny Barrett. Garza's thrown for more yards, completed more passes. Barrett has a big lead. Patient quarterback.
Turnovers didn't hurt Barrett's numbers either.
Yeah.
He hasn't had to throw the ball a lot with Michael Richardson in the running game.
2 interceptions by Garza. This time, Alan Whitmar makes the catch coming out of the backfield, more than halfway to a first down. And Remy Trudel is in on the tackle, moving up from his safety spot.
You know, that's one of the adjustments that I talked about at halftime. I thought it'd be with Keith Woodside, using him out of the backfield. He's been ejected from the game, but that's a long way for Remy Trudel, the middle safety, to go in coverage. And with that blitzing defense, he has to lock up on running backs. And, you know, I like that matchup back against Trudel.
2nd and 4. Johnstone coming out of the backfield. And a solid run, 2nd of the night for Johnstone. Big first down for the Blue Bombers. And again, Remy Trudel in on the tackle.
It's a first down.
Well, there's the Bomber backup, Terry Dean.
Yeah, from the University of Florida, terrific credentials. Had a little falling out with head coach Steve Spurrier in his senior year a year ago. In fact, did not accompany the team to the Sugar Bowl. He went on to play in the Hula Bowl instead. But quiet confidence. He says by midseason,
he'll be the starting quarterback.
So, okay, we'll see.
We'll watch for that. Terry Dean in his first CFL game, regular season. Play is whistled down early. Penalty looks to be on Edward Mitchell, 48. He was a little bit early, according to the referee, Don Ellis.
Offside. Ottawa number 76. First down repeated.
Suggesting Lloyd Lewis was offside that time. 11:39 to go, 4th quarter. Ottawa on top of Winnipeg, 25-6. Bombers have the ball at 1st and 5 inside Ottawa territory. Diving catch can't be made that time. Wilcox sliding out of bounds.
John, I've really been impressed with the 2 inside halfbacks of the Rough Riders. This time it's Brett Young's turn, but they have been so aggressive. Gary Lewis on the other side. Watch how they challenge these 2 inside receivers. You know, a lot of DBs are afraid of these guys because of their size and strength and the push-off ability on defensive backs. But give Brett Young and Gary Lewis credit. They haven't been intimidated. They've come up and challenged, and they've played well.
Definitely an area of strength for the Ottawa Rough Riders because Emmanuel Martin on the corner has been solid, and we've said a little about Remy Trudel at safety. Chris Johnstone got the call. And Paul Yatkowski, along with Ed Mitchell, number 48, in on the stop that time.
Hit by Mitchell and Yatkowski on the play.
Another rookie on defense for the Ottawa Rough Riders, Ed Mitchell from Valdosta State.
Where's that?
Southern Georgia, right on the state line, Florida-Georgia line, Valdosta State. But it was a question mark whether he would start tonight, but they decided today to put him into the lineup. He's come hard on some blitzes, and that time stuck his face right into the hole and kept Winnipeg short of a first down. Boy, I tell you, if you're a head coach and you have a lot of question marks on defense and all of a sudden your rookies play well, I mean, it is an unbelievably gratifying feeling.
Here's Troy Westwood. And makes his 3rd of the night. But the Bombers still have a way to come back. Trailing the Ottawa Rough Riders 25-9 on CFL Live.
Dirt Devil presents MVP. Introducing Dirt Devil's new MVP with maximum vacuum power. Another Dirt Devil Blue Jays MVP after this.
It has the same fluid lines of those higher-priced models, the same commitment to power and performance. And we're proud to announce our newest model not only passed that famous ball bearing test, it surpassed it.
Of course, it's my new Dirt Devil MVP with maximum vacuum power. Just think what it can do in your home.
The MVP, real proof that nothing escapes the power of a Dirt Devil. Nothing.
1985 was the year the Blue Jays would win their first division title, and a year of many MVPs. But Jesse Barfield nosed out Belen Fernandez for the coveted award. Another Dirt Devil Blue Jays MVP, brought to you by Dirt Devil's new MVP with maximum vacuum power.
This NBA Draft Update is brought to you by Molson Canadian.
Hey, welcome back. You know what? Going into tonight's draft, there had been a lot of speculation as to who was going to pull the trigger on a trade. A lot of teams looking to move up, and there has been a big deal swung. The LA Clippers traded their first-round pick, Alabama forward, Antonio McDyess, who was second overall. He goes to the Denver Nuggets. We will have more details throughout the show. Back to John and Leaf.
10:41 to go in Ottawa, and ready for the Blue Bomber kickoff after Troy Westwood's third field goal of the game. That's all the Bombers scoring, 9 points in total. It's Small on the return for Ottawa. Little seam down the left side. Alan Wetmore is there for the tackle, number 39, and a little help from Greg Clark. 50-yard kickoff, 12-yard return, and here's Danny Barrett's. Solid showing for Barrett tonight. Turnovers have helped the Ottawa Roughriders. Barrett has been able to take advantage. First and 10 Ottawa. Out across the 35 at the 37. Michael Richardson cuts in the backfield by number 4, Reggie Gibbons.
Well, John, when the game started tonight, we knew Winnipeg's offensive line was experienced and good. What we didn't know was how would Ottawa's offensive line perform, and you know, there's such a young group. Look at the difference between these two groups, and the years of experience really tell the story. 50-15 for Winnipeg, but hey, you know what? It hasn't been a detriment to the Rough Riders. That offensive line has played well. I think that's been one of the biggest surprises in this ballgame.
Barrett hasn't been sacked. He's had protection, and they've opened some holes for Richardson as well as Barrett. Early movements, and this play is whistled down with flags all over the place. 9:40 to go, fourth quarter. And a little help along the way coming to Ottawa later in the week with Chris Burns coming over from the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the Darren Joseph trade.
Ottawa number 8, second down repeated.
Well, you look at Jim Mills, who's been an MVP offensive lineman many times in this league, was hurt in a car accident, and they say he's recovering nicely and will be back sometime in July to the club. So, you know, this is an offensive line that will just get better and better. They'll be deeper too, which you always need.
Second and 14, Ottawa beginning at the 33. Barrett hasn't faced many of these situations tonight. Standing in, man open, Ray Alexander. That'll be an Ottawa first down. Darrell Sampson put the stop on Alexander, and Leaf. Barrett to Alexander, a familiar combination in BC, has clicked well a couple of times tonight. This for 15.
And one of the few times that Ottawa went, or Winnipeg rather, to a zone defense, and Alexander saw the soft spot between Bolden, who had rolled up, and Sampson, who had the deep third. He found it, used his experience to sit in the hole, and that was his 4th catch of the night. And boy, give Ottawa credit. I mean, they have made big plays. Turner with the big play to get them out of trouble, and now on second and 14 they convert.
Now at the 43, first down Ottawa. Barrett shotgun. This is Richardson. Another hole opens up. Richardson slashes inside again. He's across midfield, and he fights his way for a first down. Deron Bolden putting the stop on Richardson that time.
Well, you know who's played well, John, is 59, James Monroe, the right guard. Watch the kick-out block right there. Well, right there. Look at the lane. Now you've got guys coming up through here, and Easy spot for Michael Richardson to find a lane to run through. Doug Hawking couldn't take on the block and stuff it up.
Now at the 51 of Winnipeg, first down Ottawa. Barrett floats it up for Alexander again, and he can't win the foot race along the sidelines with Bolden that time. Rough Riders did not score a bunch. In 1994, they only won 4 of 18 games.
Now, their biggest problem was how many they gave up.
That was definitely a bigger problem much of the way. Second and 10 Ottawa at the 51. Richardson. And Barrett is on target for the Duke. James Ellingson. Sampson made the stop and saved a first down.
Kind of an interesting call. You know, you're leading 25-9, and I think Terry Baker definitely has the range to hit from midfield on a field goal. But Jim Gilstrap yesterday, when I asked him, "Are you a gambling coach?" said, "No, I'm absolutely not. I play it close to the vest," and that's what he chooses to do here. Go for field position and ask Terry Baker to try and punt it out of bounds and pin Winnipeg deep in their own territory. Not unusual for a rookie head coach to be conservative.
Boyko doesn't have a chance to field this one as Baker angled it out a little earlier than he wanted to. Near the 21. 7:30 to go. The Ottawa Rough Riders will try and protect a 25-9 lead.
Building, blocks of time passing by, geographies of unforgettable characteristics, and stones bouncing off a backbone buried deep in your own backyard. Why? Because I am.
Summertime fun, need refreshment. Yeah! Summertime fun, need refreshment.
Introducing new frozen concentrated iced tea from McCain. Refreshing, thirst-quenching beverage made with the essence of unique tea blends. McCain iced tea. Caffeine-free, no powdery taste. Just a clean, fresh-tasting flavor of McCain iced tea. Caffeine-free, no powdery taste. McCain, great-tasting refreshment down to a tea.
The diamond engagement ring. How else could 2 months' salary last forever?
Because you wear them till their tongues hang out. Micotin penetrates the skin to kill athlete's foot.
Big Derek McCready, former BC Lion, looking on as the Ottawa Rough Riders try and hang on to a 25-9 lead against Sammy Garza and the Blue Bombers. Winnipeg, 1st and 10. Here's Garza to throw. And he's got his man, Rob Carpenter, number 85. Gets the Bombers out of a deep hole in their zone. Mark Dubé made the tackle. Number 34, 20-yard gain for Carpenter. One of 2 NFL receivers making the Bombers this year.
And what I've seen from Rob Carpenter tonight in his debut is he seems to be much more comfortable running against the zone coverage and finding the hole than beating a guy one-on-one.
Garza, 2 in a row, out near midfield. Carpenter again.
Well, this is a critical point in the game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. A little over 6 minutes to go, and Rob Carpenter's made back-to-back key catches, and hey, it's only 25-9. This game's a long way from being over, although Winnipeg hasn't shown a lot on offense.
Haven't scored a touchdown yet is what they haven't done. Westwood has 3 field goals.
You know, in the last 2 plays, the Ottawa defense was rather passive. They've been aggressive all night long, and I'd hate to think that they would changed their philosophy now when they have this 25-9 lead. They've controlled the two inside receivers, Gerald Alphen and Gerald Wilcox, quite well. There you see 7 catches between them, but I think what's more significant is no touchdowns and only 79-yard total yards. But I wouldn't change that plan now. I would still try to put the heat on Sammy Garza with the blitz.
Garza with time to throw there. And it's Carpenter again down the far side. Lewis made the tackle. Carpenter has 3 in a row.
And once again, they only rush 4 and drop everybody deep. Carpenter now has been able to find some real soft spots in that zone of the Ottawa Rough Riders down the left side. Martin was deep, and there you see Carpenter just finding the soft spot in between Martin and Gary Lewis.
1st and 10 Bombers all the way down to the Ottawa 36 on 3 receptions by Rob Carpenter. Garza goes to work again with time. End zone toss and just a little too far. Gerald Alphen the target that time. Garza didn't by much. Carpenter intended target, I'm sorry.
Yeah, here's what I talked about Carpenter earlier. Looks like he's just got tired legs from training camp. There's no burst right here when a wide receiver really needs it to just put the afterburners on and go get that ball, because that was a well-thrown football, but he looks like he's got those dreaded training camp dead legs, and it may take him a few weeks before they recover and he gets the bounce back in them.
James Sias, the Ottawa backups, looking on. Sammy Garza in action here. Wilcox can't make the catch. And Brett Young, solid night. 15 games in 1994 and his 6th CFL season.
And really a pretty good pattern by Wilcox, the out and up, and you know, he's got enough of position on Brett Young that had that ball been thrown better, I think he had a shot at it. You have to wonder, Sammy Garza really has struggled tonight. Brett Young, yes, he was there, but I think a well-thrown football might have beaten him.
3rd and 10. A gasp for the Bombers here. Ball at the Ottawa 36. Winnipeg down by a bunch. Garza puts it up, and the catch is made. No, it's not. Hang on, they rule it a catch. And the ground made him fumble, so Sean Collins comes up with a catch. It is a 1st down, Winnipeg.
Well, talk about critical play. Sean Collins makes the huge catch. Now they go to the hurry-up offense, but Collins working on the in pattern. He's right there. Good hands. And definitely ball comes loose when he hits the ground.
When he hits the ground can make you fumble. 1st down. Almost picked up. Emmanuel Martin, number 7. Whoa, Carpenter, the intended receiver. Martin almost ended the game.
Oh, was he waiting for that? He just squatted down about 5 yards deep and had a feeling that Carpenter was going to run the hitch. And look at this, my oh my, what might have been.
He's been solid.
Yes, he has. You know, oftentimes it's easier for these young defensive backs to just line up and play man-to-man. The only time they've really been hurt has been when they've been asked to play a zone coverage, which is a disciplined coverage.
2nd down, Wilcox makes the catch. Can't quite get to the end zone. Trudell forced him out at the 1-yard line. 4:29 to go. Ottawa in the lead at 25-9.
Brett Young coming on the safety blitz, and Gary Lewis trying to stay in the coverage with Wilcox, but his size, he was able to push and get to the outside, make that Remy Trudell, and boy, that is a good matchup when you've got the halfback blitz coming and your middle safety has to come a long way to pick up the slot back.
Bombers 1st and goal to go at the Ottawa 1. Johnstone can't get in. Trudell is there, but I think it was Mitchell that he might have run into. Again, Ottawa's defense, tough to penetrate. Have to have another look to see who put the hit on here.
Well, you need penetration from your front guys, and then you ask your linebackers to make the big hit, and there was Mark Dubé, 34. He filled the hole. That's what has to happen. Lloyd Lewis, John Kropke, McCready, they all submarine, and the linebackers make the play.
2nd and goal to go. Winnipeg at the Ottawa 1. And Garza finally gets the Bombers into the end zone. Second try from the 1-yard line. Garza in the end zone. 3:38 to play. Now a 10-point ball game.
Might be an idea to go for 2 points right now and make it so two-point converted touchdowns would tie it up. I think that's what Cal Murphy's, he's thinking ahead too, saying, hey, a single point really, doesn't do us a lot of good. Being 9 points behind, I think he'd rather be 10 points behind or 8 points behind.
That's a good point.
No, well, 9 doesn't do you a lot of good.
I know.
8, you can get the touchdown and the 2-point convert, or the other way, need 2 possessions anyhow.
And they are going for the 2-point conversion. Garza tosses wildly to the end zone for Alpha. And Cal Murphy was down on the ground trying to see if he could get a view of that.
I think he dove for that one.
Bombers get a little closer, but it's not close enough, folks. Ottawa leading 25-15 on CFL Live.
It was early in the day with all systems A-OK. 8.
This is Control. What's that noise?
This is Control. That was Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
Say again?
Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
What's in it?
That's 2 scoops of plump, juicy raisins and whole grain flakes with bran.
They were all set to go, but he just had to know.
How many scoops?
2. 2 scoops of raisins in a package of Kellogg's Raisin Bran.
Off the engine.
Holding 2.
Where's that Kellogg's Raisin Bran?
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through. Introducing McDonald's Superhero Burger. Tomatoes, crisp lettuce, the great taste of 2 processed cheeses melted over 3 beef patties on a superhero bun. It's McDonald's Taste of the Month everyone's making a break for.
Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?
This NBA Draft Update is brought to you by Molson Canadian.
8 is a great night for the Vancouver Grizzlies and the Toronto Raptors as they make their first ever selections in the NBA Draft. Wouldn't you know it, though? They pick up Damon Stoudemire, do the Raptors, but they will let go of B.J. Armstrong. Vice President Isaiah Thomas said he'll move him. They picked him up in last week's expansion draft. Let's go back to the ballpark.
And just in time for the Blue Bomber kickoff, 3:22 to go. Ottawa leading 25-15. Nigel Williams on the return for Ottawa out near the 30-yard line. And Hocking led the Blue Bomber tacklers that time. 10 plays to cover 89 yards and a time of 4:08. Garza put it in the end zone for the Blue Bombers to get Winnipeg within 10. Winnipeg has had time of possession at 4:08 on that last drive, 3:20 on the previous, 5:49 prior to that, but only picked up 9 points on the Rough Riders.
Yeah, they still need, with just a little better than 3 minutes to go, 2 possessions to at least tie this football game up.
Danny Barrett will try and take a little time off the clock. On first down, it's Michael Richardson. And he's grabbed quickly by 3 or 4 Bombers there. So Richardson has had a solid night, but not much running room there. Solid nights for attendance here at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. Leif, I was talking about the commissioner's big touchdown here, and I talked to Larry at halftime. It was a 48-yard touchdown that he scored 17 years ago this day, but he had a little help. Jerry DiTilio played the pass out, so he only had to go about 6 yards after making the catch.
That's right. He said it was more of the catch than the run.
But it was a 48-yard touchdown for Larry Smith. A few years ago, BC Lions will host the Baltimore CFLers on Friday night. We'll be on a jet first thing in the morning to get to Vancouver and bring it to you on Friday nights, 10:30 Eastern time.
Yeah, I think Baltimore is going to be tough. You know, they have Carlos Huerta now kicking for them, very reliable. Up for Rookie of the Year last year, lost out to Matt Goodwin, ironically, of the Baltimore no-names.
Lloyd Lewis back in Ottawa after 2 years on the road. He spent a little time in Edmonton and was with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers last year, but he's happy to be back, signed as a free agent in Ottawa, and this is the place that he's had his greatest CFL success. He's an underrated ball player who's had a fine career.
It's not bad.
Nice chair. Good spot to watch. Game story is fairly simple. Remy Trudel with a couple of interceptions and a fumble recovery. All led to points for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Danny Barrett a big part of the story too. One passing touchdown to the newcomer Turner, and then he took it in from 16 yards out himself as the offensive line opened a giant hole for Danny Barrett.
And I love the look of Lloyd Lewis's face. You know, that look of anxiety. He's been through so many wars, and you know, all he's hoping for right now is Danny in the offense. Just get us a couple of first downs.
2:41 to go.
Toughest thing to do, close out a ball game.
2nd and 8 for the Ottawa Rough Riders, leading by 10. Barrett to his right, looking for Alexander, can't quite bring it down. So the Rough Riders will kick it away.
Well, I think the scheme was good by Danny Barrett. Go to the rollout where he has that option to either run or throw, and felt like he couldn't run for the first down, had a better chance of completing this into Ray Alexander. Makes a good effort to try and go up and get it. Ball just a little too high, so Winnipeg will get their chance.
Here's Baker standing at his 15, so the Bombers will have fairly decent field position even without a good return. This is Darius Watson stepping across the 40. Not much past that. He's nailed at the 43. Celebrating down there, Stephon Reed, another rookie.
The Ottawa Rough Riders have done a nice job covering kicks tonight for Terry Baker. His net yardage has been very good.
Gilstrap was talking about that yesterday. He was worried about the kicking game a little bit and more special teams coverage on it, I think. Sammy Garza, 22 of 42 for a couple of 261 yards, couple of interceptions. That's been a problem. Now he's got 219 to work with and a 10-point deficit to erase. On first down, Garza, Carpenter, and he loses a battle with Emmanuel Martin.
Boy, Emmanuel Martin has been sharp tonight. Initially, you know, he's got blanket coverage on Carpenter, but all of a sudden Carpenter uses his experience and regains that position. Watch how he gets inside. Now Martin's got to worry about stripping the football, and he recovers and is able to do so. But boy, they have challenged him, and he has met every challenge they've thrown at him.
He'd be a game star on a night when Remy Trudel didn't intercept a couple and recover a fumble.
Yeah, he might be.
2:12 to go. This is 2nd and 10 Winnipeg. Back at the 44. Bombers down by 10. Here's Garza. He has time over the middle, and Wilcox makes the catch. Or rather, Gerald Alpha, number 86. No catch.
The ruling that he dropped the football. Once again, Ottawa being burned in the few times they go into that zone. Alphen finds the hole easily, but the ball is in there, and that's a good look to see that the official Al McColeman, 54, right on the spot, makes the correct call. And once again, the Blue Bombers will have to gamble on third down. But you know, it's hard to fault Dickie Adams, who's the defensive coordinator of the Rough Riders, for, you know, the scheme and the plan that they've had tonight. But it's a bit ironic that every time they played zone in the fourth quarter, they've been hurt by it. And, you know, when they played man-to-man, an aggressive style of defensive backs have really responded. And yet when crunch time comes, they go back to the defense that they've been hurt in.
First injury of the night. Number 51, David Black. Right guard of the Blue Bombers. Hasn't missed many in 11 seasons in the Canadian Football League. Missed 2 games in '94. He's a 2-time Eastern All-Star.
What did Brett McNeil say to you yesterday that, you know, how could you ever think of retiring when you get to play with all these good buddies on the offensive line? I mean, it's just too much fun to even contemplate retiring.
Well, they've known each other for quite a while, haven't they?
You betcha. This group,
what, 50 years experience, and most of them have been with the Bombers for the duration of their career. Third down. Bombers have to gamble here on 3rd and 10. Garza. And he has his man. Oh, he caught it twice. Sean Collins. had the ball, lost it for a split second, and then made the catch again for a 20-yard gain. So the Bombers are still alive with 1:58 to go.
A good job by Sean Collins working on the in pattern against the zone. He gets into the lane, stays there, and well, watch at the end. Remy Trudel actually knocks this ball loose, and Collins was fortunate that he was able to recover. That could have been the game right there.
Playing in his first CFL game, Sean Collins.
He's been solid. Made some good catches.
He was the top rookie receiver in his first year in the National Football League, 1989 with the Atlanta Falcons. 6 receptions for 89 yards, waiting for his first touchdown.
Yeah, I think he would be happy with that. You know, when he was with Atlanta as a rookie, he caught 58 balls. Now, he was drafted in 1989. No other rookie in the NFL in the 1980s caught as many balls in their first year as this guy did, Sean Collins. So he's got some credentials.
You know who was drafted by the Falcons that year as well? Dion.
Oh.
Same year they joined the team. Same time. He was the rookie on defense. Sammy Garza looks to the far side for Carpenter, and Carpenter is up and over with 1:43 to go. Should be a first down. They haven't spotted the ball yet. First down, Winnipeg. 25-15. Ottawa in the lead by 10 with 1:43 to go.
Yeah, I think Emmanuel Martin, the corner's thinking, hey, I'm not going to get beaten deep and be the GOAT in this ball game, so he gives Carpenter a lot of room on that out. There's no anxiety on that bench, is there?
They're smiling a little bit right now, but it's a tense time as Garza winds up and fires. Mix up there between a receiver and quarterback. Gerald Wilcox appeared to be the intended receiver, but he wasn't near the football. Somebody made a little mistake there. What do you think? QB or receiver?
I think the receivers got fouled up and maybe didn't anticipate the coverage that they got.
Second and 10 from the 32. Bombers need 10 points to get even with 1:39 to play. Garza underthrew that one. Almost sidearmed the ball, trying to slide it through there. Carpenter was the intended target.
The play just took too long to develop. I think Sammy Garza was anticipating throwing that ball quicker than it developed, and when he finally almost double clutched it, and the ball went underneath Rob Carpenter. But boy, when the timing is thrown off those patterns, I mean, it's tough for a quarterback to recover.
I like that. Double clutched it.
He did.
Well said.
Well, they needed 2 possessions, John. They needed to score a touchdown on one and a field goal on the other to tie this game. So at least out of this possession, they have a chance to get some points. So all is not lost because they don't get to go for the touchdown.
They can narrow the gap to 7 points. And Westwood is wide, second time tonight. That's a big miss. And no point out of it either. Trudel gets it out of the end zone. Near the 21-yard line. Interesting.
Well,
I mean, you can give up the point, and now you throw the mathematics out for a Bomber comeback. But Trudel kind of surprised them, I think.
Well, it's a pretty flashy run back by Remy Trudel, but I'm not so sure you don't want to take the field position at the 35-yard line and give up that single point.
I'm not so sure I would go with that call either, but it's a little interesting. He gets out at around the 21.
Well, that kind of says it all for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right there. Westwood had to have that kick.
Yeah, he's missed 2 now tonight, and that's not characteristic of his style.
Tough to fault Remy Trudel, though. You know, I'm going easy on him on that one, because any guy that has 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery, you know, pretty tough to say he's made judgment and error tonight.
Danny Barrett's dropped from behind with 1:16 to go. 94. Tony Hill got to Barrett there. Is that normally the call of a guy in the end zone, whether he's going to get it out of there? I mean, this is a fairly crucial point in the game.
Well, usually there's a signal from the sidelines. You know, they have various signals to give up one or run around, take more time, or get it out. There's 3 signals that they use, and you know, you can only surmise that he was given the single to bring it out if it was missed.
Well, there was a little opening. The Bombers hesitated. He didn't get bad field position as a result. This is Michael Richardson. Breaks one tackle. He's out near the 24-yard line with 51 seconds to go. Ottawa will have to kick it away.
Yeah, they've done a good job covering punts tonight, but this will be the most crucial punt cover that this team has been on the whole evening. Terry Baker's done a good job with his net tonight.
But as a result of the missed field goal, the Bombers still need 2 possessions to tie the game. So they call a timeout with 50 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, that's a good move, too. You know, Ottawa was going to let the clock run down the full 20 seconds before they kick the football there. So, you know, this forces them to only start the clock when the ball is snapped. Smart move. Keep as much time for the offense as you can. That's always the cardinal rule in how you use your timeouts. Or I should say timeout.
Timeouts. Here's Baker. He'll try and run a little off the clock, too. Good charge, and Baker nails this one for Alan Boyko back at the 38. Boyko takes off, a little running room, slowed down and caught at the 52. Obi Spanik stopped Boyko that time. Obi Spanik, nice name. He's number 96, Hamilton native, out of Weber State, and another rookie. QB comparison looks like this. Sammy Garza has the yards. Danny Barrett's has engineered the touchdowns.
Yeah, and his numbers are down because he's been trying to protect the lead here in the second half.
He's used his running back rather effectively.
And
Michael Richardson.
You know, Danny Barrett could care less about the numbers in this game. You know, numbers only look really good when you've lost and you said, well, you know, I know we lost, but you know, I didn't have a bad night. But numbers, when you win, you know, you could have a low percentage. You win the ball game. That's all that counts.
Defensive line. 3rd down, repeat it.
Winnipeg was offside. I didn't see a flag down there, Leaf. So they'll let Baker kick it again, and he'll do so gladly. Take a little more off the clock.
You know, the biggest thing you worry about protecting a lead now in these situations, you know, like bad snap or the kicker fumbles it, you know, you might question whether they would want to re-kick it again. It was a pretty good kick and a pretty good net out of the whole thing.
Well, Boyko is out near the 45, the Winnipeg 45.
You know, obviously the thinking is, as you say, take more time off the clock. But
Boyko again, and this time Baker's kick isn't quite as deep. It's right back where it was, and the Rough Riders had the time off the clock. I guess it works.
And a solid job downfield by Stephen Reed, a young rookie linebacker working the special teams. They have been flawless on how they have blanketed the return men of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers tonight. And what a psychological lift that is when you think you've won the kicking game.
31 seconds to go. Time is all but run out officially on the Blue Bombers. Down by 10. Garza on 1st down. Has to get to the end zone in a big hurry and then get back. Carpenter made the catch short of the 1st down. Emmanuel Martin on the tackle. He's won most of the battles between cornerback and wide receiver on that far side.
Hi, Erica. I love you, baby. I'll see you real soon, all right? Hey, Carrie, hey, Kenny, Brownie, C.O. Neverton. We'll come see you soon. I love you guys.
Dan Murphy changed his numbers just before the game. There's Emmanuel Martin one more time. A little gamble there, though, Leaf. He dove at the football and just tipped it away from Carpenter.
Well, Emmanuel Martin all night long, here he is, and you watch how he breaks on the football. He's had that uncanny ability to sense the play. Now the feet start shuffling of the receiver. He is on the move like a bullet. That left hand goes in there and makes yet another outstanding defensive play tonight.
Bombers are 4 for 4 on 3rd down conversions. Make it 5 for 5 as Carpenter makes the catch, but just 15 seconds to go.
Now there are certain keys you look for as a corner, and You know, obviously Emmanuel Martin has felt with Carpenter tonight. Every time he starts to break down and gather himself to make a cut, Martin too has been breaking down and been Johnny on the spot to make some lovely knockdowns.
Son beats father. First meeting in the Canadian Football League. Mike Murphy, we mentioned earlier, son of Cal, is a linebackers coach with the Ottawa Rough Riders, and he's won this battle from dear old dad tonight. Alton was the intended target. And Garza has been off.
Well, you know, Cal Murphy's saying, you know, why do we do that? Like, it's last play of the game type situations. Carpenter's run those outs. Now they run the out and up. Now, against an aggressive corner, that's something you got to do a little earlier, not save it for the last few seconds of the game. It's a good play, and it may work, but not at this time. Rather futile.
This should be it. Garza looking deep. Lewis has the interception, and Gilstrap hits the shower. Yeah, got a little Gatorade. Well-deserved win. This was a well-prepared team. 9 years an assistant in Canadian football. Jim Gilstrap took over the Ottawa Rough Riders under some duress, too. This team had lost 8 free agents by the time he got here. I think there wasn't much left.
I think to state some duress is an understatement.
You asked him if he was a gambler. I think it might have been a gambler to take the job, but what the heck, he's done a great job with his football team tonight anyway.
If you're an assistant and you get offered a head coaching job, no matter where it is, you take it. The final nail in the coffin for the Bombers, the Gary Lewis interception. And give the Ottawa Rough Riders credit. Jim Gilstrap, if he was honest with you, he would say he really didn't know what kind of team was going to show up tonight. There's so many new faces, and to try to blend them all together in a cohesive team is a lot to ask, but boy, oh boy, will he sleep well tonight.
Game 1 of the season, won by Ottawa a year ago. That was over Shreveport, though. This is a more important victory for this franchise. Jim, if I were you. 25-15 is the final.
But John, as you look at this game, as the players, Danny Barrett shake hands with everyone, coaches meet. You know, we've certainly said a lot of superlatives of how Ottawa played. I think if you're on the Blue Bomber side, you have to be very, very disappointed with your opening night performance. We talked about a defense that maybe has the potential to dominate a game. They didn't dominate at all tonight. In fact, we're rather passive when they're pass rush, bringing 6 and 7 people. Barrett had time to throw, so for the Bombers, you know, there has to be concern.
Now, the Bombers were talking about big pressure from the front 7. They also let Michael Richardson escape a time or 2. So the running game worked well for Jim Gilstrap as well. And the Ottawa Rough Riders come away with a 25-15 win.
Our favorite product is a new product we just put on the market, and it's Canadian-style veggie back bacon. We're creating something totally new that didn't exist before. Long distance is a major expense in our company. The Advantage saving plan is much more competitive, and based on the last 4 or 5 years, our price have come down 35 to 40%. And it saves us money we can reinvest in R&D and in expanding the distribution of our product.
Let's say these shoes are your car's brakes. Becomes pretty obvious, doesn't it? You're going to have at least part of them repaired. Which brings to mind the Midas inspection form. Midas shows you in writing what brake repairs you need to do right away and what can wait a while. So you can make the choice. Oh, by the way, these are not walking shoes. These are talking shoes. Could you bring down the microphone? I'll demonstrate.
It's the way it should be. Midas.
Thank you. Good night.
At Mr. South, fresh thinking is what we are.
The laws of gravity are about to be rewritten. A few years ago, they would have been labeled insane. Today, we call them world-class competitors. The Extreme Games, the alternative sports spectacular. Day 4 continues tonight only on TSN.
Time now for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Royal LePage.
And Johnny came in the third quarter. Sammy Garza looking deep downfield for his slot back, Gerald Alphen. But who's there with the interception? Yes, number 24, Remy Trudel, his second of the night. He had a fumble recovery to go along with that. 4 plays later, Danny Barrett took it in on the quarterback sneak. And that was the real finishing nail in the coffin for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers tonight.
A cash donation will be made to the Canadian Coaching Association for the training and development of amateur athletes on behalf of TSN and Royal LePage, the real estate professionals that make the difference. Aim higher with Royal LePage. Remy Trudel, lots to celebrate. He was super tonight. So were the Ottawa Rough Riders with a 25-15 win over Winnipeg.
We're in a garbage crisis. One reason McCain chose to pack their juices in these aseptic boxes rather than non-refillable glass bottles. 1 liter aseptic packages use 88% less material than non-refillable glass, generate 85% less solid waste, consume 62% less energy. Plus, it would take 30 trucks to ship 1 million empty 1 liter glass bottles to their factories and just 2 to ship the equivalent in aseptic packaging.
McCain made their choice for the environment.
It's hot off the grill, the Keg 69 Classic Camaro Contest. To get your share of the action, just visit the Keg and sink your teeth into a juicy keg steak or cool down with a refreshing Lipton Original Iced Tea. Fill out a ballot and enter it into the specially marked ballot box. Then, dream about your chance to win this classic beauty. Or you could win a free cake dinner during the Keg 69 Classic Camaro Contest. It's hot.
The CFL live on TSN. Brought to you by Pepsi. Pepsi reminds you to be young, have fun, drink Pepsi. And by Bell Advantage Long Distance Services from the Alliance of Canada's only full-service telecommunications companies.
Welcome back to CFL Control in Toronto. It was the start of what's going to be a great season for us on TSN, along with the Canadian Football League. This was the first of 45. Remember the good old days when you knew every player and every team? By the end of the summer, it'll be that way again. Let's take a look at the game story once again. What a fantastic performance put forward by Remy Trudel. He comes up with 2 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery. Ottawa, they hold Wilcox and Alphen to 8 catches and no touchdowns. This is going to be fantastic. Our next game will come this very Friday night, so there is really no rest. It's going to be a great matchup. Just think, it was not that long ago that Baltimore and the BC Lions got together. Turned out to be a fantastic finish. The BC Lions win the Grey Cup. Baltimore goes away bitter, but they have vowed revenge. They will do it all again this Friday. Once again, it's a 7:30 start Eastern, or I said 10:30 start Eastern, I should say 7:30 start Pacific. The final once again from Ottawa, the Rough Riders 25, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 15. Thanks for watching, folks. Have yourself a great night. We'll see you on Friday.